Good morning, Koro. Coming for attention as soon as we start. Oh, Booger. Where did we leave off? Honestly, I can't really remember. Oh, Invitation to the End was what we last did, which was like the mysterious person came and invaded Takano. Oof. Cleared almost everything. So literally all I have left is, what is this? The Revenge of Her and him changing school, so I can start that. And that sets up the game board, I guess. 7 fragments, fragment with blah blah blah. Game board must be set up. Game board must be set up. Yeah, everything's game board must be set up, so I guess that's this. With this, do I have all the pieces lined up for 1983? It sure is a hard and exhausting job just lining up the pieces for the month of June. But finally, I'm at the start line. Beginning from zero, at last. Yet, seeing all these colorful fragments together, I realized just how many sentiments were intertwined around June 1983. I used to think that thoughts of people with no relation to me were useless. But I was wrong. Rika Furude did her best to overcome the fate of June 1983. She did 2 things. One was to get in touch with the Erie Institute, because she knew she would be protected there. Ironically, Takano from the Erie Institute was the one who wanted to kill her, but it was the best move for her at the time. And the other was to ensure that the Maibara family moved to Hinamizawa. It actually wasn't certain that the Maibara family would move here. Oh, so Hanyu was actually visible to Takano and Maibara this time. So that scene is actually real, I guess. Right here, yeah. They first decided to move here when the father felt something sentimental at the sight of us on the day he came to view the properties for sale. Therefore, it was necessary for us to play in that field. It was the trigger for the Maibara family's move. It took me so long to find that out, though. After turning various conditions on and off repeatedly, I finally realized that meeting Keiichi's father at that field was the cause. Maibara Keiichi is a very important key for breaking Rule Z, one of the chains that was binding me. He is the fresh air that's powerful enough to break all the old and evil customs in this village. He created many opportunities, but he also provided me with an important clue by letting me know that a strong conviction and the will to believe is what's important in standing up against a powerful fate. But I wasn't the only one who wanted him here. People in the Sonozaki family who wanted to wipe out the nastier traditions of the village also wished for him. Mion Sonozaki vowed to herself to protect Satoko and Sashi because she was very much bothered by how irrational the treatment of the Hojo family was. And on the night Sashi Hojo disappeared, she exploded at Oryo Sonozaki and voiced her true feelings. Oryo Sonozaki understood. Oryo herself had come to understand the wicked customs of the village and had been wanting to do something about it. But she didn't have the power to do so herself, so she entrusted it to the fresh air that was blowing in from the outside. That was why the lots went on sale, so the Maibara family could move in. Even if I danced in that field, if Oryo hadn't put the lots on sale, Keiichi couldn't have come. And Rena Ryugu, who provided many important opportunities for Keiichi Maibara, was saved by returning to Hinamizawa after the deep emotional trauma of her parents' divorce sent her into terminal condition. Keiichi Maibara's wish to restart his life was the same wish Rena Ryugu had a year prior. Maybe that's why Rena was able to understand Keiichi. It's like the miracle where one can recognize moments in a certain fragment from another fragment. If they can use the lessons learned from one fragment, then humans won't make those mistakes. The game pieces will make their best moves, and the chances of winning this game of June 1983 will rapidly increase. In other words, Random Ryugu makes extremely important moves on this game board without realizing it. The mighty Rule Z that surrounded the Hojo siblings was eventually smashed by their actions. Of course, Satoko overcoming herself was also a big help. Their hands met only because they reached from both sides. Keiichi and Rena are the ones who taught me that. Mion is the one who made it possible for them to move here, and she also helped them to become familiar with the village. That's not all. Irie is also an important piece with significant functions of his own. Feeling empathy for Satoko, he is the most influential piece on the board we call Hinamizawa Syndrome. His existence is capable of defeating Rule X. I wish they reminded me what Rule X, Y, and Z were. I'm gonna Google that now just so I don't... Higurashi rules X, Y, Z. Universal rules. That's it. X, a random person succumbs to the syndrome, so of course he's that one. Rule Z is everyone believes that the Sonozaki family is capable of anything, and they're the cause. Then Y is of course the two's death on what is the festival? Cotton. Wow, I'm completely forgetting the name of the festival right now. I'm sorry. Sumi. Watanashi. I was remembering Cotton, but not Wata. On purse number 5. Keiichi and Rena's determination and subsequent awakening taught us that it was possible to fight against Rule X, but they didn't defeat it. Defeating Rule X requires the existence of Irie, who has the strong will to discover a cure for the syndrome. I didn't know Irie held this many thoughts within him. I always thought he was rather absent-minded, but he is, in fact, an important and powerful piece. So, if we gather all this power, can we win against Takuno's will? I've seen Takuno's thoughts, too. Sadly, her will is strong, and can't be easily broken. It's no wonder our fate in June 1983 has been so hard to shake, no matter how hard we fought. The sentiments I've been turning towards it pale in comparison to how many she's brought into it. The weight of our game pieces are different, because I've given up on fighting, while she has been risking her life to fight on. I've spent time sulking and drinking wine to escape from reality. I must be a very light piece indeed. I can't win against Takuno with what I have so far. I need more pieces to be able to win. The officer Oishi once showed the possibility of becoming a strong ally. But he's under the misunderstanding that the Sonozaki family caused the death of his dear friend, so until that gets resolved, he won't be of any help. I don't know how I can resolve that misunderstanding, but I just have to believe in it and keep throwing the die. Just like Keiichi and Rena constitute a chance to change fate, maybe Akasaka has the power to create a chance as well. The curse of 1983 is tied to the curse of Hinamizawa. A curse can't be broken by inner power alone. It takes power from outside as well. Both sides have to reach out, otherwise the hands won't meet, just like what happened with Satoko. But Akasaka has never come to our aid. Even if he did, it was always too late. Too late. Far too late. But if I keep throwing the die, will Akasaka's game piece eventually appear? The final rule, Rule Y, involves the evil masterminds who are using Takuno as their own game piece. To defeat them, I need a very strong opponent for her. And the only one I can think of is none other than Akasaka from the police headquarters in Tokyo. There are more pieces who would lend me their power. I need to gather them all, otherwise I can't win against Takuno. The preparation of the game board is complete, there is that line, but I need more pieces. It's only the beginning. The game board is set. Alright, this will be an easy choice to start out with because you have like the first four chapters, I think. Because you have this, not this, not this, not this. Yeah. So let's just start with all the game boards. First with the prequel. This is probably Akasaka's chapter. This piece is the only one that's so distorted. That's because it's from long before June 1983. Therefore, the existence of this piece has no effect whatsoever in the game we're playing on this board. What? But is this really a useless piece? The identity of Rule Y has been completely exposed by now. With the backing of a mighty organization, it is powerful enough to swallow up the small solidarity of individuals. Oh, this chapter also does let you know about the, what's it called? The Ministry of Construction's grandson. I almost give it up on this game because of its irrational power. That's why I'm thinking that maybe there's a piece hidden somewhere that's strong enough to fight against such a formidable enemy. Mamoru Akasaka works at the police headquarters in Tokyo, and might have the power to stand up to a vast conspiracy. Can his power withstand even Rule Y? Just like Maibara Keiichi defeated Rule Z, will he be able to defeat Rule Y so easily? We need everyone's strength. So Akasaka's strength is needed as well. That was short. That's fine. I suppose this is just telling her about all of her friends and quote-unquote pieces. Yeah, it was literally like 1 or 2 minutes. This will tell us about Keiichi, for the most part. In order for Keiichi Maibara to become a game piece that can lead everyone, there's something he has to learn about first. The piece that's very painful, pitiful, and sad. He has to learn about his friends, and he has to learn to not doubt them. He doesn't know the importance of trusting his friends. He doesn't know. Just yet. A slight mistrust grows into paranoia, and Keiichi Maibara is trapped within Rule X syndrome. At the end of Rule X, Keiichi leaves a sad note and dies. While it may be very bitter and very painful, it also puts him through the process of learning something very important. Hey, Hanyu, you didn't have to apologize. In the few days he left Hinamizawa to attend his relative's funeral, tragically, he experienced an outbreak. But I think this was necessary as his first step towards learning something important. The very first step towards smoking out Rule X, and eventually defeating it. When this piece was all I had, I didn't even think of that, though. Yeah, these are super short. Which is fine. We learned all about these worlds before, they're just reminding us of their importance, I suppose, in the grander scheme. Alright, we're going to skip Onikakushi and start Watanakashi. This game piece reminds us that no matter what happens on the game board, everything is due to the curse or the Sonozaki family pulling someone's strings. No, to put it in my words, this is the piece that makes everyone aware of the existence of Rule Z. It's hard to notice with just this piece, but this is a complicated fragment where Shion Sonozaki is, while trapped in Rule X, and mistaking it for Rule Y, is hurled about. Comes to know as the existence of Rule Z. But this is also the piece that teaches us the rules of the game board. By the way, the piece called Shion Sonozaki is a piece coming from the outside, from the game's point of view. She dislikes Satoga Hojo at first, but through this and another piece, she learns something important, challenging Rule X, and then grows to be a powerful piece to fight Rule Z. The most ridiculous part of this fragment is that it's hidden so cunningly, and doesn't seem that way at all with just a passing glance. Learn from your mistakes. Please become a powerful piece, and lend me your strength to defeat my enemies. And that ends that one. Wow. I feel like they could have just left this in the game board one or something, and it just goes through all of them one by one. Alright, let's go on to Tatari Goshi, Chapter 3. This piece shows us the existence of the unreasonable Rule Z surrounding Satoko, and reveals the most powerful adversary rule on the game board, Rule Y. Can the rules X, Y, and Z be seen now? The enemy we need to fight, the things we need to learn, all are gathered and revealed here in this fragment. At this point, it's impossible to reach Rule Y. Fighting against Rule Z's effect on Satoko is the best that can be done. But in this piece, we make a mistake in our approach for fighting it. The outcome we gained through an erroneous means is erroneous itself. Keiichi Maibara learned that through his own experiences. A tragedy doesn't possess the power to overcome tragedy. Violence doesn't possess the power to overcome violence. If they can grasp at that, all the pieces on this game board will learn the true way to fight. But Takano is too powerful. The shocking end of this piece doesn't allow us to learn it that easily. Right, because that's where they actually see Rika dead for the first time. Do, 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 do. And now we go backwards to Chapter 5. Sumi Horoboshi. This game piece has a very important meaning for us, because it showed us for the first time that it was possible to poke a hole in the fate of the June of 1983. Wait, Sumi Horoboshi, is this Reina's? To start from the conclusion, everything gets taken in by Rule Y at the end, and all of our effort is wasted. But we're challenging the great law that governs the game board, Rule X, head on. We're using everything we've learned so far from other fragments, which can prove we can defeat it. We grow by learning. In a game with no hope of winning, we can discover a slight chance of victory. This piece taught us that. Right, this is Reina's, I remember now. With this game piece, Rule X was almost completely defeated. Keiichi Maibara and our other friends won't be led astray by something as pathetic as the Hinamizawa syndrome and dance in tragedy any longer. It has also taught us that the rules aren't indestructible and are possible to overcome. In other words, it has given us, the ones who are on the outside of the game board, hope. It's an important fragment that serves as our turning point and the trigger for everything else. And then we find the true reveal of Shion and whatnot. This is the Shion one. This is the piece of Shion Sonozaki, who goes mad after being taken in by Rule X. With no room for sympathy, this is such a painful piece that one can only have pity. It distinctly identifies the keyhole of the padlock called Rule Z. Keiichi Maibara becomes a key himself to pry open this padlock, and as Mion Sonozaki wished for, he became a wind that clears out the stagnant air filling the village. This piece also teaches us an important lesson. Shion Sonozaki learns through this piece, and then becomes a strong ally for Satoko Hojo. In that way, maybe Satoko Hojo is a piece that represents the padlock for Rule Z. Unless she is saved, Rule Z can't be defeated. And when she is saved, that means Rule Z is defeated. This piece indicates only that. That's the only thing Shion Sonozaki learned by gambling her life. But now, I think that it's very important. Every time I see Satoko and Shion argue about pumpkins, I think about that. Gotta get that water ready. Higurashi, Chapter 7. The game piece that uncovers the invisible Rule Y that has been pulling the strings from the beginning. Because the impression of that is so strong, it's easy to forget about something very important. We can't forget that this piece also shows the path towards destroying Rule Z. While Rika Furude lamented Rule Z as impossible to defeat, it was hardly a match for Keiichi Maibara and the others once they learned everything they needed to. They knew the correct way to fight and fought according to the rules of the game board. As a result, we win, and that fact is more valuable than anything for us. Keiichi Maibara taught me a lesson. There is no need to subject ourselves to any fate. The will to believe can defeat anything. The fate that I was always subjected to was created by Mio Takano's own conviction. So what he says is correct. To defeat her conviction, we need a stronger conviction of our own. A strong will can be pierced only by another strong will. We defeated rules X and Z, and then challenged the final rule Y. But we needed more pieces. Each piece fought at its best, but the strength of our enemy's pieces, led by Mio Takano, were just too powerful. She didn't even give us mercy. She squished us completely, and made us restart the game all over again. Although we lost, we didn't give up the resolve in our hearts. Because we finally found the true culprit, and also found a clue for how to fight against her. We can't win with the pieces we have now. We don't have a powerful enough conviction, or a strong enough will. But Hanyu and I will keep trying. We'll roll our die repeatedly, look for the greatest result, collect pieces, and try again, with a will stronger than Takuma. Didn't you think of giving up several times before you got to this point? But you made it because you believed in me and followed me here. We're almost there. We can do it. Let's create the last piece. It will be the ultimate piece, and we won't need anything else. The very last piece of all. Come on, let's collect the pieces. Let's collect miracles. Please, give your hopes, desires, and dreams to me. Genkyo Wakate. I haven't actually seen Dragon Ball Z enough. I just know that line from other VTubers referencing it, so I say others if I'm a VTuber, but... Alright, the final fragment. After collecting miracles from all 7 fragments, I finally got a hold of this one. This fragment holds our final fate. But before we take a peek, please wait for just a little bit. The fate that's inside will be decided the moment we take a peek. Have I told you about the story of the cat in the box? Schrodinger. Is it alive or dead? If you open the box, you'll know, but you won't know until you open it. It could be alive and it could be dead. In other words, before you open the box, the living cat and the dead cat simultaneously coexist. And the moment you open the box and find out the truth, the incorrect answer disappears. The inside of this fragment is the same principle. The future we desire and the future Takano desires simultaneously coexist. They are opposing and denying each other. Once we take a peek, one of those futures will disappear. If we have enough pieces, we can take a look inside this fragment. But we've only had the same pieces lined up the same way on the game board. And the game under the same condition was Takano's complete victory. We've already tried that in the Higurashi fragment. We need more pieces. We need the help of a piece that's powerful enough to defeat Rule Y. Until I get hold of that piece, it's too scary to take a peek inside this fragment. But how do I get such a piece? It's a piece I've never gotten a hold of before. To obtain it, I need to look. Just one more time. I need one more miracle to obtain that piece. What? So are we getting another connecting fragment? Oh. Oh. Leftover fragments. Do you need the final miracle? What is this? I never noticed this tiny little fragment. Sometimes a fragment gets cracked and it breaks. Just like how the fate we believe in cracks sometimes. A damaged fate is no longer the same fate it was. Then which fate does this piece belong to? I picked up the tiny fragment and tried to match it with the fragments I have in my hand. And the last fragment I picked up was the Himatsubushi fragment. That's the 4th chapter. This fragment was distorted from the beginning. Ah, and look. See? This tiny piece fits perfectly. With this tiny fragment, how will the world change? What kind of miracle will occur? So are we going back? The whole world warped. Since I put the broken piece back where it belonged, the distortion centered on the crack. That doesn't mean I can't take a peek inside. It's already past 1985. Oh, it's a time long after Rikufuda and her friends' stories tragically ended in 1983. Beep. Zzz. With some mild interference, an order crackled through their headsets. All units, the chief has a message for all of you, so listen up. Good work, everyone. The local police has given us 15 minutes to wrap this up, but I'm only giving you a few seconds. Don't let a single person escape. The main target is a diplomat. Don't let him suspect you're a cop. Just grab him. But make sure you leave no injuries. It'll lead to problems if you do. They're dirtbags who hide under diplomatic immunity to deal with the local gangsters. They launder money from drug dealing and force people into the sex trade to pay off high-interest debts. According to the local embassy, some of the victims are younger than teenagers. Shitbags. Normally, this would be a simple case, what with the perpetrators being gangsters. But when the police found out that a foreign diplomat was involved, things got much more complicated all of a sudden. Diplomats have diplomatic immunity, so the police can't arrest them. But they knew he was an important figure in the whole scheme, and there was no doubt that he was a middleman between the foreign criminal organization and the Japanese gangsters. They couldn't let him escape. It would be easy to deport him, but that wouldn't solve anything. The police had to ask the embassy for his assistance, but they denied the request, and the case was put on a standstill at that point. That's when they found out that the organization was going to be selling the Self-Defense Force's classified radar and missile technology secrets. The Public Safety Division then had to move on the premise to protect this classified government information. And today was the day that operation was set to go. 2 men at the front stairs, 2 men at the underground entrance, 4 men at the back door. All suspects are believed to be armed. 2 more than usual, huh? They only take 2 seconds more for him. He never shows anyone mercy. Can you hear, Akasaka? You're on point. Be careful. Okay, let's move. This is Akasaka. I copy. Let's go. A man suddenly appeared around the corner downtown. It was Akasaka. He displayed none of the naivety that he did when he first met Rika, because that was like 10 years ago. When he got to the entrance of the underground club, a bouncer with a heavy foreign accent stopped him. This place. Members only. Do you have membership card? Akasaka pulled a card out after being asked. It was a card that was very difficult to forge, so they could only get one. As the man on point, he was the one to receive it. The bouncer let Akasaka in after confirming he had a membership card. Akasaka-san passed the bouncer at the entrance. He's going down the stairs. Come on, Akasaka. At the bottom of the staircase, there was an overly decorated door like the one you'd see at a high-class club. The venomous glow of the cocktail lights lit it up, silently warning everyone it was an entrance to a den of evil. Welcome. May I see your membership card? The guard at the entrance took the membership card and put it through the card reader on the wall. Beep! An error sound. Slight perspiration could be seen on Akasaka's forehead. The guard swiped the card a couple of times more. Beep, beep. Akasaka-san is having a problem. Did they change the system? If Akasaka is encountering trouble, we'll change plans. Secure his safety pronto. The expression on the guard with him steadily grew dour. Dour? I think it's sour. His right hand reached inside of his jacket, probably fingering his gun. Ding! The buzzer suddenly rang with a delightful tone, and the card reader flashed a green light. Immediately after that, the lock on the door opened up. Thank you for waiting. Please, head on inside. The guard pulled his hand out of his jacket and opened up the heavy door. Loud music and flashing, colorful lights spilled out from the inside. From within that, a well-dressed guard appeared to welcome Akasaka. At this moment, his first mission was accomplished. Having acted as the go signal for the remaining units, Akasaka was also in the dangerous position of being in enemy territory all by himself. The door was the biggest obstacle for their ambush. The door locked automatically, so whenever it was closed, it was also sealed that way. It was a solid door, and nearly impossible to open from the outside. Somebody had to... That was weird, I saw a little glitch for a second there. Not only open that door, but keep it open for several seconds in order for the raid to begin. Akasaka was the only one who could do that. This is Akasaka. Entrance secured. Go, go, go! The complex on the other side of the club was getting a new tenant, and there were 2 trucks parked in front of the building. But of course, that was just a disguise. The door to one of the trucks opened, and several dozen plainclothes investigators jumped out. The same thing was happening at the back door, too. The ground-level guards noticed this and began to draw their guns, but were taken down immediately by nearby investigators, who had been pretending to be innocent bystanders. Several dozen investigators quietly went down the underground stairs. These narrow underground stairs were another obstacle to their operation. Everything would end up on the security camera. Their raid would become known within a few seconds. For that matter, a push on the security button would make it impossible for the lock to be opened from the outside. That's why they had to secure the door before the ambush. The guards on both sides of Akasaka noticed the loud footsteps coming down the stairs. The well-dressed guard also realized that something was wrong. The three guards shifted their attention from Akasaka to the stairs behind him. And as he sensed that attention shift, Akasaka took a quick, deep breath and then stopped breathing entirely. The two guards standing beside him suddenly rose into the air in strange positions. Akasaka had determined his position relative to the guards next to him, so he didn't need to check with his eyes. But even so, his fists had been driven into their faces with such precise accuracy. His moves were well-trained ones, and showed no mercy against evil. They were as destructive as armor-piercing ammunition. And furthermore, Akasaka had retracted his arms at the same speed he struck. Everything looked so strange in the flashing lights. The man who witnessed all this probably couldn't figure out what had just happened. The two guards were up in the air in strange positions, and the man who had been standing in front of him was now crouching low. Then that frozen moment shattered. The well-dressed guard was smashed into the ceiling, and shortly afterward came crashing down onto the floor. Later on, while slurping liquid food, he would desperately try to remember whether it was a fist or a leg that broke his jaw. He would probably never quite recall it. Rather luckily, the way his body fell blocked the door, so Akasaka didn't have to hold it open any longer. "This is Akasaka. I'm going in." Wait! Wait for your backup! Akasaka! The room was filled with loud music, but everyone had already noticed the brouhaha at the entrance. "Everyone, get down!" As soon as Akasaka bellowed his warning, screams filled the club. Most people immediately hit the floor as if trying to proclaim their innocence. But all the guards reacted quickly to Akasaka. In the midst of all this, there were a few people who were trying to make their escape through the back alongside several guards. Akasaka restarted his breathing once, and then stopped it again, and then ran after them like a wolf. The whole zoom in. He jumped up onto the table, smashing expensive bottles of alcohol and scattering glasses with ice cubes made from the icebergs of the Arctic. A foreign bodyguard, whose previous profession must have been a professional boxer, thoughtlessly stood in front of Akasaka. With a heavy accent, he tried to taunt his opponent, but Akasaka couldn't have cared less about that. The only display that man was able to put on for him was that he was able to block Akasaka's attack. But it wasn't even an effective guard. The power of Akasaka's punches were so incredible that they simply broke the man's bones in his attempt to block them. The man's arm warped in a strange way. In the moment after the agony showed on his face, Akasaka's left arm ground into it. Akasaka, you see, is right-handed. That man should consider himself grateful that he was able to get away with a mere orbital fracture. Thinking that this was his chance, another man attempted to tackle Akasaka-san from behind. He assumed that no matter how strong a man was, he'd go down quickly when attacked from behind. He also assumed that as Akasaka was concentrating in front of him, he wouldn't be expecting an attack from behind to begin with. But that would only be true if Akasaka was just concentrating on his front. Indeed, the attacker was very wrong, for Akasaka was no longer even thinking about the man before him. Akasaka knew exactly when and what was about to happen. The experience he has built up to this day taught him that. His body, more than his mind, remembered the timing for when menaces to society like these would make their moves from behind him. Akasaka's attack continued fluidly from the left arm punch that he struck against the ex-boxer. His left arm retracted, and at the same time he arced his left leg around beautifully as it crashed into the man approaching him from behind. A dull sound signified that his nose had been broken. But Akasaka already knew that. Akasaka continued his motion and directed a decisive right blow to the side of his assailant's head. The man slammed into the wall and bounced off of it, rolling on the floor. Akasaka took another breath. Under the glare of the dazzling club lights, the guards realized they were up against a demon named John Wick. Yes, they realized that there was no way to take him down, not without a gun. The guards were being paid to deal with humans. Fighting demons wasn't in their job description. At that moment, backup finally arrived. Maybe finally isn't a suitable word. Everything that happened did so over a matter of seconds. The time it took for Akasaka to take down those 5 guards was a span of merely 2 breaths. Put your hands above your head and get down on the floor. If you resist, we will open fire. Thanks to Akasaka's furious action, the flow of events was already set. Akasaka's intimidating first strike shattered the gang leader's will to run. They were all down on the floor, but one of them began smiling. "You shouldn't touch me. It'll lead to an international incident." Akasaka grabbed him by the collar and threw him against the concrete wall. Aren't you a policeman? I have diplomatic immunity. I'm a diplomat. Good for you. So how much did you get paid, huh? This'll be an international incident. I'll be calling the embassy. Oh! Ha! With a dragon-like roar, Akasaka's right fist pounded the wall right next to the diplomat's head. Bang, 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 ding! Immediately after that, his left fist pounded the wall on the other side of that head, and soon enough, Akasaka had pounded the wall 7 times, each just a sliver away from the diplomat. His fists were easily powerful enough to crush the man's head. The diplomat crumbled to the floor. This is Akasaka. Target secured. Further investigations discovered a secret getaway route that even the public safety didn't know about. Dozens of Soviet military-grade machine guns were found, and if Akasaka hadn't stopped them in the club, they would have escaped, or even worse, the operation might have ended with a brutal death toll on both sides. All thanks to how well Akasaka executed his duty, the operation was completed without a single shot fired. Come on, hurry! The local police will be here soon. Put them on the truck. Since the foreign diplomat was involved, they had to make sure it didn't look as though the whole operation was carried out by the police. Instead, it was made to look like a simple gang war. They would dump the useless gang members and hand over the target to the police. Of course, before handing him over, they'd make sure he spilled everything he knew. That diplomatic pig would be used as a negotiation device by another part of public safety. They found plenty of evidence that said pig was tied to an underground criminal organization. Not wanting a persona non grata on their hands, the embassy would likely cut all ties with him. The rest would be the business of other departments. Public safety's job was to take care of the things regular police couldn't deal with. Akasaka, are you okay? Come in, Akasaka. This is Akasaka. We're on our way. You've done it again. Report to the chief to get reamed out later. Akasaka-san, you sure are a demon. 5 men within mere seconds? It's not even karate anymore. Your fists should be recategorized as lethal weapons. It sure was lucky that none of them drew their guns, though. Knowing how brutal Akasaka-san is, he could have turned them into honeycombs. Shut up. Don't make me sound like an assassin. I showed no mercy against evil, that's all. The pigs he had just caught were no average criminals. They had committed so many unforgivable sins. The strength behind Akasaka's fists was proportional to those sins. The heavier their sins, the more powerful his blows would be. Come on, round them up. Akasaka, make them hurry. The local police will get here quickly. This is Akasaka, understood. Didn't you guys hear? Hurry up. Roger. Command, we have 5 injured here. Please have meds ready. There wasn't any trace left of Akasaka's old naivety. He had grown to be the vigilant ace of his department. Theme of Akasaka. Akasaka was training inside a dark dojo filled with the smell of sweat and mold. The dojo was located in the middle of downtown, in a small building. It wasn't that big, and they weren't that well equipped either. It certainly didn't look like a dojo where a person as skilled as Akasaka would train. There were only 3 or 4 students there, including Akasaka. But this was the dojo he picked. To Akasaka, karate was certainly a weapon for crushing his enemies, but now he was seeking something further from it. To achieve his goal, a dojo with many young students having actual physical lessons wouldn't work. He had gone to so many different dojos, and this was the one he finally settled on. Every time Akasaka punched a sandbag, the heavy thud of his punch and the clang of the sandbag's chain would echo. He wasn't just punching blindly. He thought first, developed those thoughts, and then punch. It was more of a deep and low vibration than a proper sound. Drops of sweat scattered, and the dust welled up in the air. And the Higurashi were inside the dojo. It was a perfect blow embodying the concept of one strike, one kill. But he wasn't satisfied. He closed his eyes, controlled his breathing as if trying to hear the cry of cicadas. Then he punched again. From a beginner's perspective, it looked like he was taking breaks between each. The other students, training on their own, would glance over and sense a fearsome respect as his focus blows. I heard Akasaka-san works at the police department. Really? If someone like him is a police officer, I don't want to do anything bad. Still, his concentration, sir, is amazing. He never gets tired. On his days off, Akasaka came to the dojo in the early morning, and he silently trained all day. His training was no longer physical, but mental. The other students were already aware that his continuous concentration was the secret of his strength. However, that was easier said than done. As long as a person lives, they are bound by countless ties and idle thoughts. For a person to submit all his will into such singular focus is more like trying to attain enlightenment than something in the realm of martial arts. Man has tried many different methods to achieve such enlightenment, and what we've learned is that there is no one way to reach it, and a path one takes can reach it if mastered. Karate is what Akasaka chose. The rumors say that his wife is dead. Supposedly he does karate to forget about that. Really? That's different from what I heard. I heard he couldn't save a girl on the job, leading him to realize his weaknesses, or something like that. So until this point, Rika just didn't know that he was this strong afterwards, I guess. Hey, I can hear you. Quit talking about other people and train. Yes, sir. There was a small beeping noise. Somebody's watch was letting them know it was noon. Akasaka-san, we're going to get some lunch. Can we get you something too? Sure. I don't care what you get. Thanks. Akasaka was more pleased to be alone in the dojo than to have anyone bring him lunch. When they left, silence filled the building. Shit. My focus dissipated because they were talking about me. But if that happened because of that bit of small talk, that meant he had much more training to do. He had to train much harder if he wanted to achieve enlightenment. He focused again and started to punch the sandbag, but the sound was a lot lighter than before, and obviously the strength in his fists was no longer there. Realizing that he needed to take a break, Akasaka pulled out a towel from his bag and sat down. The sound of cicadas soaked into his body. The windows were open, but there was no breeze coming in. Still, he could feel the cool air, if just a little. Just as they said, the reason Akasaka started karate was because of Yuki's death. Of course, losing against the suspect in that kidnapping incident was one reason too. But more than that, the pain from Yuki's death was what made him start. Yuki fell down the stairs at the hospital and died while he was on a business trip in Shibone. He couldn't get rid of that depression, so he started learning karate. In June 1983, when the Great Hinamizawa disaster occurred, he realized something very important. A girl had predicted Yuki's death, and in return, she wanted him to help her. Yuki's death was an accident. He could have told himself that there was nothing he could have done. But as for the girl, Rika Furude's death was different. She knew about her own death 5 years prior. When the disaster occurred, he remembered Oishi called him to make sure he was okay. Then found out about everything. When he was caught up, he fell into despair. Rika Furude was the turning point in his life. If he had believed what she predicted and did something about it, maybe Yuki wouldn't have had to fall down the stairs. He took the oath to serve the public as a police officer, yet he didn't even notice the plea for help from a little girl. He shoved aside a conspiracy surrounding her until it was too late. He had 5 years to do something about it, but he didn't do anything, and she died. Visiting Hinamizawa for the kidnapping case of the minister's grandson was definitely the turning point in his life. If he had only listened to what that girl said, Yuki would have never died, and he could have been there to help Rika Furude. Those two things continued to haunt him. And in future fragments, he remembered that. The investigation into the series of mysterious deaths in Hinamizawa that he had heard about from Oishi was put on indefinite hiatus because of the disaster, but it was apparent to both of them that there was some conspiracy behind it all. To challenge such things, he needed all the strength and experience that he could muster. He was devoting himself to gain such strength, but it was too late. Everything had already ended. While he was stuck in this dilemma, the dojo instructor admonished him. There's nothing one can do about what's already done. So in that case, the only thing he could do is to train diligently so that if the same thing is to happen again, he'll be able to save a person in need. It's all too late. Everything's already over. Yukie died in an accident. Hinamizu was destroyed in the gas disaster. And Rika-chan was murdered as her intestines were ripped out while she was alive. Shit. I was too obsessed with Yukie's death and couldn't hear the girl's plea for help. No, if I had listened to her, I could have prevented Yukie's accident too. Damn it. Damn it. Shit. As Akasaka clutched his hair and looked up, he noticed a small shrine overhead that protected the dojo. Akasaka respected both Shinto and Buddhism, but he had never thought of praying to gods in time of despair. But for the first time, he felt like praying for help. If it was something he was capable of doing himself, he would never even consider praying. But as it was something he couldn't resolve on his own, he prayed, "Let me do it over one time." It was a very selfish wish. If his wish were to come true, everyone in the whole world would wish for the same thing. Please give me another chance to go back to that time. I swear that this time, I will save the both of them. At that moment, Akasaka's body suddenly felt very light. No, it was more like he was losing balance, as if he was fainting. Perhaps it was because he was shouted so loudly after training, and his brain was lacking in oxygen. But he couldn't take his eyes off of the shrine. Thank you, Akasaka. We needed your thoughts. Was this a hallucination? Akasaka felt like a stranger was talking to him. We must wish for a miracle, and you must wish for a miracle too. Otherwise a miracle will never occur. Unless everyone wishes for a miracle, it won't occur. Unless both sides reach out, their hands won't meet in the middle. He didn't know what she was trying to say, but somehow he felt like he couldn't miss a single word of it. He felt like it was something very, very important. Akasaka, if you wish for it, I'll grant you this miracle. And it'll be a miracle for us too. Joining these broken fragments will give us the chance to create an even greater fragment. Your resolve on its own may greatly influence everyone's fates and intentions. Can you turn back time to that day? No, I can't do that. The only thing I can do is let you notice. Let you notice that things you can't learn from one fragment, you can learn from others. So all you have to do is return this broken fragment to where it belongs. That's a big miracle itself. Although, you probably won't even notice it. Thank you, Akasaka. Thank you for remembering me. I don't even know how much time I've spent asking you for help. But finally, it reached you. So I'll say it one more time. Please help me. No. Please help us. That probably ends that fragment. We can start the true thing now, I assume. do, 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 do. What? Why? 1 second. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, this is probably the fragment that joins into Himatsubushi then. Now you can redo this. It was long. It really was long. Are you okay? Is your spirit still alive? Do we have all the pieces we want lined up on the game board? Is this everything that we have that can go up against Takano and her minions in the game of Fate in the June of 1983? I think maybe. We have everything. And last but not least, Hanyu, it's you. The time you have left to be a piece is limited. But that doesn't mean you can't show up in the game. Shall we begin? I put in hundreds of years just for this moment. Completed the puzzle. Someone once suggested that believing is like placing a bet with coins of hope. In other words, believing means taking a risk. So I'm just curious how many chapters we've done now. Or achievements? 9 out of 14. Or 5 out of 14, sorry. So let's see. The first miracles. Welcome new student. That's obvious what's happening. Began preparations. Continued. Even more. Preparations complete. So 1, 2... well, oh, okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6 chapters, basically. Alright, let's get back in there. You gain something if you win, but you lose something if you fail. As with any gamble, we try to make sure we win, and then bet a coin. But as with any gamble, there's no guarantee of victory. Sometimes you win, and sometimes you lose. And that's how you increase the number of coins you have. But if you keep losing, you don't want to continue gambling. It's then that you realize that if you don't gamble, you don't have to lose anything. Not gambling on anything is the same as not believing in anything. Not believing in anything is the same as not involving yourself in anything. And not involving yourself in anything is the same as not existing. Therefore, she didn't exist. The one coin she had in her heart was the last one. If she lost it, she'd disappear. That was why she was hesitating to make a bet. She had been running, trying not to get involved in any type of match, because she was afraid of betting it by accident. But just like in a game of poker, she could lose her coin by folding. She tried not to lose her last coin, but that meant she was going to lose it eventually anyway. There was something she didn't know. Actually, I didn't know it at the time either. The more coins bet into the pool, the higher our chances of winning this game. In other words, the more frightened we are, the more we'll keep losing the game before us. It's just like carrying a portable shrine. It's impossible to carry such a heavy thing by oneself. But when people put their strength together, they can lift it easily. There's a clear borderline between too heavy to lift and easily lifted. It's just like how the balance on a scale tips with just a little weight. The big, heavy shrine before us couldn't be lifted. Everyone tried their hardest to raise it, but couldn't. I didn't help because I was sure it couldn't budge. I don't participate in games I know I can't win, so I didn't bet my coin. But that was wrong of me. Maybe the portable shrine could have been lifted if I joined. For the longest time, I'd been pretending to be a bystander. I always thought I was there just to find out if my coin was worth betting or not. But that was wrong. I'm not just an onlooker, nor should I be a bystander. I should have participated. The game I've been facing doesn't look like a game I can win. It doesn't look like a game that's worth betting on. But by betting on it, or by participating in it, or by believing in it, the outcome might change. To gamble on something is the same as to believe in something. To believe in something is the same as to be involved in something. To be involved in something is the same as to exist. Therefore, she existed. She being Hanyu, of course. Okay, everyone, homeroom is starting. No more chit-chatting. Class rep, go ahead. All rise. Bow. Good morning. Sit down. Rattle, rattle, rattle. It's an ordinary morning. The only difference is that it started a little later than usual. Chie-sensei normally arrives in the classroom right away, but she's a little late today. Why was she late for homeroom? The rumors were already stirring about the classroom before she arrived. Chie-sensei gave a cue, and the girl peeked into the room timidly. Oh. This is a new student, Hanyu Furude-san. She's going to be joining us starting today. We gotta do it. Arms in the air like you just don't care. Wow! The voices of welcome, delight, and surprise all mixed together and filled the classroom. Furude? Is she related to Rika-chan? Yes, she is. She's my distant relative. My, that's quite a surprise, even to me. I was uninformed that Rika had relatives. Hey, this old man didn't know either. Well, the three families are rather complicated. I wouldn't be surprised if I had distant relatives myself. But she sure does look related to Rika-chan. Oh, what a cutie! Oh. All my classmates had gotten excited. The new girl looked rather intimidated by it all. Rikichan is rather carefree, but this Hanyu seemed like the complete opposite. She's more like a shy woodland animal. The exact type that Rena loves. Look, see? Rena is ready to swallow her whole. Okay, Hanyu-san, please introduce yourself. Settle down, everyone. Go ahead, Hanyu-san. Chie-sensei left the podium and encouraged Hanyu to take over. The even greater pressure of the silence left her standing there timidly for a little bit. Well, that's understandable. It's very nerve-wracking to watch, though. Hello. I'm Hanyu Furude. Hello. I'm Rika's relative. Me. She's my relative. Please be nice to her. Rika-chan can tell that she's too nervous to introduce herself. She's right to break the silence. Pressuring her like that isn't fair. Which is why I decided to make it more lively. You're called Furude, just like Rika-chan, huh? Now we have 2 Furudes in this class. Then how about we call her Hanyu-san? If we call her Furude-san, Rika might think we're addressing her, don't you think? We generally call each other by our first names here. She's one of us starting today, so we should call her by her first name too. Okay, it's decided. We'll call you Hanyu. I'm Mion Sonozaki, the class president. Call me Mion, okay? Oh, I'm Satsuko Hojo. Very pleased to meet you, Hanyu-san. I'm Daiki Tomita. My parents run a tofu shop. Please come by any time. I'm Suguru Okamura. Please ask me if you don't know anything. Hello. Let's be friends, okay? What grade are you in? Our classmates fell over each other to introduce themselves. Everyone tried to get her to remember their names so they could be friends. A friendly atmosphere swelled in the room. I've only just transferred recently myself, but this is exactly how it was on my first day too. I remember how nervous I was and how much I appreciated this as a result. I know more than anyone how nerve-wracking it is to be a new student. I should look after her. I agree. We'll have to help her blend into the class quickly. Right, you were a new student last year, huh? Were you nervous on your first day too? Yep. But Michan and the others were so nice to me that I got used to the class pretty quickly. Well, yeah. To welcome a newcomer to the village is one of the 3 families' important duties. You only mention the 3 families when it suits your purposes. But it's true that you all helped me get used to such a different environment. In that case, doesn't that mean it's your turn to look after her, Kei-chan? Yeah, I thought so too. Rena was a new student, but she looked after me when I got here. So it's my turn to look after the next new student. The new students always dramatically changes the atmosphere of the class. Even my attitude has changed. We decided to gather around Hanyu during lunch break. And bully her. Okay. Remember, you can only ask Hanyu 1 question each, okay? Why don't we ask her some personal questions so we get to know her better? Let's see, who'll be the first to go? You're up, Okamura. What's your favorite food? Oh, I like sweets. My favorite kind are cream puffs. Oh, that's wonderful. I love cream puffs too. There's a very good sweet shop in Okonomiya. I'll take you there sometime. Okay, boys, did you all hear that? If you want Hanyu to like you, get her some cream puffs, okay? Not the cheap ones, though. Get her something expensive. Let's see, who's next? If there's no one else, I'll ask what color her underwear is today. Hello? Everyone kept asking Hanyu questions, and she looked all panicky again. I guess this is like a traditional ceremony for a new student. I remember this is exactly how my first day went. Mion and Satsuko seemed amused, so it must be the same for them too. I noticed Rena watching the scene before her with a distant look in her eyes. She's probably remembering her first day too. Are you recalling what it was like? Huh? Ah, yeah. Were you thinking about something else? You aren't thinking about taking Hanyu home, are you? How? No way! I'm not thinking about that since Hanyu-chan likes cream puffs. Oh my god. And since I have some good cream puffs at home, that she should come over or anything like that. Hmm? Sorry. And since I have some good cream puffs at home, that she should come over or something like that. Oh, I'm taking her home with me. If she doesn't come to school tomorrow, it'll be your fault, Rena. Oh, that's mean. As we watch Hanyu and our classmates have fun, Ren and I laugh together. Do. Hey, Keiichi-kun. This sure is great, huh? Yeah, it is. It's great to meet a new classmate. Huh? No, not that. I mean, I think I've seen her a few times before. Hanyu? Maybe you saw her when she and her family came to look at the area before they moved here? You sure have a good memory, Rena. No, it's not like that. Hanyu-chan has been here for a long time. She's been right beside us all the while, watching us play together. For ages now. Huh? Is it just me? Didn't you notice Keiichi-kun? No, I haven't seen her before. So are you saying that you've met her before, Rena? From what I can see, this is the first time Mion and Satoko have met Hanyu. If she's been that close to us, like Rena said, it's impossible that none of us would remember her. Are you sure? Besides, Hanyu is a transfer student. She couldn't have been here in this village that often. Do you think so? I swear I've seen her pretty often. It's your imagination. Even Hanyu just said she was living far away before she moved here. But I've seen her before. Oh. Rena looked like she was trying to remember more. It's probably one of those deja vu experiences. Although it is the first time you see something, it feels like you've seen it before. Oh well, just forget about it. She's here now, right? Yeah, you're right. Yeah. She always seemed so eager to join us, so I'm glad that she's one of us now. Rena smiled with tears in her eyes. When I looked over at her, Rika-chan was wearing the same expression. It made no sense to me why those two looked like that way. But as soon as Satoko came over and pulled a prank on me, I forgot all about it. Boom. See you later! These are the words that signal the best time of the school day. As soon as the last period ended, my classmates ran out of the room. Hanyu was popular all day today. She's Rika-chan's age, so all the lower grade students gathered around her. Older students like me and Mion didn't have a chance to get close to her. Well, I'm sure they'd rather have a new student who's their age than a scary-looking older guy. That's right, you looked so scary at first, Keiichi-kun. It was probably because you were nervous. Hey, that's mean. I was trying to be friendly so I could get along with the class. You were far from friendly. You slapped me upside the head on your first day, Keiichi-san. Don't you recall? That's because of how I was treated on my very first day. There was a thumbtack on the seat of my chair and even a frog in my desk. The warnings he was given. We heard there was a new student in the teacher's office, so we went to take a peek. We saw you there, and you looked so nervous that Satoko must have thought she had to do something to help you relax. Oh! As your elder, I was being considerate, you see? That's impossible. Although, that blackboard eraser trap sure did help ease my tension. But Satoko will be so pleased with herself if I tell her that, so I'll never admit it. Hanyu-chan must have gone home with everyone else. I'm sure she's still popular even after school. Still, your first day at a new school is always really exhausting. I'm sure she'll sleep very well tonight. I'm quite sure too. Oh! Okay, everyone. It's been a while since I've been busy with work quite a bit lately. It's time for a club meeting! Background. I've been waiting for this. It's been so long that I've gotten rusty. It really has been a while. I've been bored because I haven't rubbed a loser's head in a while. Oh, I won't lose. I won't be holding back just because it's been a while. You sure have pent-up frustrations, huh? Great, that makes things even more interesting. Everyone's motivated, huh? You better watch out. I'm in top form today. Mion, you're going to wish you went to work instead. Mion's had to work quite a bit lately because her uncle's shop is short on staff. So we haven't done any club activities for a long while. For us, club activities are the main reason we come to school. In a way, we live for these few hours after school. If there are no club activities, there's no point in coming here at all. So it only makes sense for us to be excited about getting to have a meeting again. I guess none of us will be satisfied with an ordinary game. What should we play? Mion looked into the club locker. I'm always curious about what's in that locker and how much of it there is. I swear there's more in there than it can realistically hold. Just then, we heard the door open. Oh, Hanyu-chan? Oh, hello. What are you doing here? Did you forget something? I thought she had already gone home. Did she forget her lunchbox or something? It's not that big a deal to forget a textbook, but you can't forget a lunchbox. Oh. Hanyu, what is it? Are you looking for something? Hanyu looked at us apologetically. What is it? Are we in the way? She kept staring at us timidly. Are we sitting in Hanyu's seat? No, that's not it. Ooh, what is it, Hanyu-chan? Can we help you? Can we? Oh. Rana talked to her, but there was no communication to be had. Almost like trying to have a conversation with a stray cat. Meow. What is this? Hanyu was fixated on something. I followed her gaze and found Rika-chan. Hanyu's apologetic gaze was directed at Rika-chan. Oh. I won't say anything. If you want it, you need to say it yourself, Hanyu. Oh. With that, I finally figured it out. Hanyu wanted to say something, but she didn't know how to say it, so she wanted Rika-chan to say it for her. But Rika-chan told her to say it herself. In other words, we need to listen to what Hanyu has to say. We patiently waited for Hanyu to speak up. But when I think about what happened this morning, I realize this kind of silence makes her even more nervous. Rena, noticing that, talked to her in a sweet tone of voice. What is it, Hanyu-chan? Can you tell me? I'll help you. Oh. What is it? Can you say it one more time? Oh. Eh? Rena raised her voice. What? Let this old man know too. What is it? Eh? Are you sure? What could it be? Please share it with us all. Well. I want to join your club. Eh? Hanyu said it loudly, as if to shake off her embarrassment. New music. Now that's a surprise. Where did you hear about us? Oh. I want to join. I want to join your club. Very good. You did a great job. Clap, clap, clap. Rika-chan must have known that Hanyu wanted to join the club all along. Man folded her arms with a smile and stared at Hanyu as if appraising her. Needless to say, Hanyu was intimidated. You're awfully reckless, jumping into mortal peril by choice. But our club isn't just any old club. Only a select few are allowed to join. That's only after passing a gruesome trial. Just because you want to join doesn't mean you can, you know? Ah, look, Hanyu-chan. Miu-chan's club might look fun, but... Oh, it's not that easy. Oh, I already know that. You have to win. Otherwise, you don't know what might happen. Are you sure you're aware of that? Oh, gotta remove the cat. Be right back. Alright, let me just get my headphones back on. Yep. Oh, I won't lose. Besides, Hanyu swallowed once and said what was on her mind. It sounded like a big thing to say for her, as though it had a much deeper meaning. I used to hate to lose, so I always ran away from every game. But running away is even worse than losing. I can win only if I continue to fight, despite the pain of failure. That's something I've learned. Hanyu? When Mion realized that, although she looks timid, Hanyu is actually very courageous, she grinned. Looks like she's grown fond of her. Well, well. She's got guts. How about it, Mion? Why don't we let her try, huh? Let her take the entrance exam. It usually takes more than a few weeks to determine if one is even qualified to take the exam. Yet she wants to take it on her first day. What should I do? Mion pretended to be stubborn, but in reality, she was simply playing with her. If she actually didn't want her to join, she would have refused her right away. Of course, if Hanyu was bothered by this kind of intimidation, she wouldn't be able to survive in this club. Just like Rena and Satoko said, our club is relentless. Winning should be your utmost goal. Always aim for first place. And if you come in last, you'll wish you were never born. Oh, I'll do my best. The punishment for losing is actually kind of fun too. Honey-chan, you've been watching the whole time, huh? You've been wanting to join for the longest time, huh? I got the feeling that Rena had just mumbled something like that. Come on, Mion, let her try. I got in by going through that too, you know? Quite true. Let us see what Hanyu-san is made of. Have fun, Hanyu-chan. I won't hold back, okay? I won't hold back either. I'll only give you my best, Hanyu. Oh. Very well. Hanyu Furude, you're on. You're allowed to take the entrance exam. Okay then. We'll have to choose a game that Hanyu knows how to play. What would be good? Oh! What about this? Mion threw a deck of cards onto the desk. The exact same cards in Chapter 1. Does this mean? We'll play a game that everyone knows. How about Old Maid? Oh, that's fine. Here she goes. This is the exactly what I had to endure when I went through this entrance exam. This is the Marked Tile deck. Oh, that's a very enthusiastic response. However, our club's version of Old Maid is a little different, no? Most of the cards have scratches on the back, so by memorizing the scratches, you can tell what card it is. In other words, the more you've played this game, the better you are at it. This is simply our way of being mean to newcomers. Honey-chan, you can do it. This is a trial. Oh. You can do it, yeah. This sure brings back memories. I had to go through this too. It just happened recently, but I still feel so nostalgic. Recently, quote unquote. However, that doesn't mean I'll go easy on you. Character change, since you can see Keiichi. Just like how merciless they all were when I did the exam, I'll put everything I've got into this. Right, everyone? Prepare yourself, Hanyu-san. Here we go. If you want to join, let us see what you got. Roger. What is this music? I'll call your hand from the right, okay? Ace, 3, 4, 7, Jack, and Queen. It's too late to hide now. Oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. Sorry, Hanyu-chan. This is the Ace of Spades, right? I'm out. Do you get it, Hanyu? This is the entrance exam for our club. Keiichi is putting his leftover grudge from his own entrance exam into this game. Come on, Kei-chan. Are you sure you should be saying things like that? Hanyu, take Kei-chan's car on the right. That's what you need to win. Oh, I'm done. What? That's not fair. Okay, I'm dead serious now. How dare you make me mad? Hanyu, do you want to go home on a leash wearing shorts with a tail on them your first day? My. I think you would look better in them, Keiichi-san. Oh, yes. Now I'm going to take him home with me. I'll make him do that punishment. That's a great idea. I'm in too. Hey, you guys, why are you picking on me, huh? Fine then. I'm going to make all of you do it. The sound of it. Freaking car beeping. Ugh. Beep beep. Okay, this is the banquet section. Can you hear me? One more speech and then we'll move on to a toast. Are you ready? This is the back end. We're ready. We can't hear anything from inside, so please give us a cue when the speech is finishing up. This is Tokyo, if I remember right. Yeah, I remember these lines exactly. There are several dozen tables with white tablecloths on them in the banquet room. Approximately 8 people are sitting at each table, so there are at least a few hundred people there. The banquet room is teeming with excitement. There are many plates with different kinds of food on each table. A sushi platter, a sashimi platter, a fruit platter. Also along the wall there are cooks ready to serve fresh sashimi. All the guests appear to be well-mannered gentlemen, and obviously, they're notable people from different fields. The huge and beautiful chandelier above them clearly tells that this hotel holds a status good enough for those famous people. An elderly gentleman is giving a long speech on the stage before making a toast. Usually people don't like such long speeches, especially if it's before a toast. But the guests are actually excited with his speech. Again, an upsurge. Anyway, they accepted the surrender, and the Pacific War ended. In other words, even if they had to take care of further business, the war ended that day according to international law, and from that day on there was peace. Therefore, if any troops invaded Japanese land during that peace, that would be an encroachment against Japan, no matter what the Soviet Union says. The northern territories are Japanese land, and it should be clear to anyone that they invaded illegally. Hear, hear! And now they want to set us to sell by returning a mere 2 islands to us? Who do they think they're kidding? Listen, Habumai, Shikotan, Gunshir, and Iturup are Japanese territory. Their total area is equal to an entire prefecture. What would you think if the Soviets invaded and occupied one of our prefectures? Would you sell for just getting a half of the prefecture back? No, you wouldn't. You'd have the entirety returned to you. Yet the Soviets are brazenly sitting there claiming vested rights to the land. This is no joke. We must strongly oppose this to the bitter end. Return all the northern islands. Our nation must demonstrate unwavering resolve on that point. I'm just going to Google one of these islands to see if it's real. Habomai. A group of uninhabited islets in the southernmost Kuril Islands. They are currently under Russian administration, but together with them are claimed by Japan. Yeah. I mean, of course they'd be real. Higurashi uses a lot of real history. Thunderous applause filled the banquet room. All the gentlemen agreed and expressed that they felt that way by cheering him on. Wait, Akasaka. In all that hubbub, there were two people standing by the wall that didn't seem to fit in with the rest. They were wearing sharp-looking suits, and while a little too old to be called young men, were certainly young compared to all the elderly gentlemen in the banquet room. Why do politicians always tend to lean right or nationalists? And be so partisan? That's simple. What politicians want most are votes, and votes are cast by their constituents. But not everyone over 20 actually votes. Voter turnout is highest among those who are retired and have free time, so the elderly in politics monopolize the votes. And that means the key to their election is whether or not they can secure the elderly vote. The war only happened 40 years ago. In other words, the generation that's interested in voting is the generation from before the war. My mother talks about air raids often. She used to live near Suidobashi, and she lost all her family in an air raid. She had to walk across the burnt fields all alone. That's right, our parents went through the war. They shed their blood, sweat, and tears, believing it was for the good of the nation. We lost the war, but they believe the war still brought about change that serves as a foundation for the peace we have today. I hear that a lot. That if Japan hadn't fought in the war, Asian countries would still be Western colonies. There was no way we could have won, but we needed to fight in that war, or something like that. In that case, no matter how much they preach pacifism, politicians can't ignore the pre-war generation. War is bad, and we should never again fight a war. But that war was necessary. Unless they say things like that, it's like they're denying the very lives that generation lived. I see. Okay. I wasn't expecting lyrics. I see. Politicians have to work hard to earn votes, huh? However, it would be one thing if they were truly proclaiming their own beliefs, but many of them are simply saying that to get elected. As long as there are politicians trying to win over what remains of the pre-war generation, this country's post-war era will never end. Claiming it will, but still. That's how the ghosts of the war will pass their will on to the next generation, and keep things the same for the next millennium. They'll just keep repeating that the war was justified yet regrettable every time an election takes place. When will our country ever be freed from that cycle? It's simple. Young people need to vote. Don't be fooled by war stories. Vote for those actually pushing policies. Realistic policies, that is. Ah, yeah. There are a few who talk about some pretty unrealistic things. Akasaka-san, isn't that the F table? There she is. Let's go. The speech had ended, and the elderly gentlemen were giving the man on the stage a standing ovation. The two men walked through the crowd and approached an old lady in a kimono. Are you? Yes? That would be me, but who are you? I made an appointment with you on the phone yesterday. I'm Akasaka. Actually, it's probably not Oreo, no. Oh! My husband worked so hard for this country. Even so. Madam, I understand what you're going through. This wasn't really anything out of the ordinary. Nobody could remember if there had been a donation or not. So a handful of politicians were questioned. As a result, some came up with a scheme to blame a sickly, elderly man who had already retired, with only a short time to live anyway. He was the perfect fit for them. The elderly man had already been sick in bed, and the shock of his friends betraying him had taken away his will to live. The only thing his wife could do was to simply watch him suffer. She kept crying while telling the men about her husband's achievements. If your husband is, in fact, innocent, a judge will rule accordingly. Don't worry. All false executions will be cleared. I already know that, because he is innocent, but he won't live to see the verdict. He worked so hard for this country, and this is what he gets in return at the end? How can he rest in peace? Akasaka nodded and tried to find the right words to say to her. His colleague rummaged through a pile of paperwork behind him. The papers were filled with fine print, and it would be hard for an onlooker to tell exactly what they were. However, the way he was looking at them made it very clear that they contained something important. Akasaka-san, this is amazing. This records exactly how the money was moved. Akasaka gave him a signal to remind him that this wasn't the place to be looking through those documents. Madam, there isn't any more paperwork, is there? No, that was the only thing in the safe. Please, use it to get back at those ingracious bastards. My husband did so much for them, yet they... Oh... Madam, You do understand that some things in these documents will implicate him, don't you? Yes, I understand that. One can't be honest all the time when one is a politician. I'm his wife, after all. Thank you for your cooperation. I will use this to expose the injustice that was done to him. Only one thing. May I ask you just one thing, though? Could you wait until my husband passes away before making this public? The paperwork Akasaka received was something her husband intended to take to the grave with him. Something that shouldn't exist in this world. If it went public, her husband's name would be disgraced. It still will be. Akasaka nodded. I understand. You have my word. Vast public funds were moving from Kasumigaseki. The funds were issued to sub-branches to carry out national policies. But various ideas over those public funds always came together, and there was never an end to those trying to poke a straw into it to suck it out like a mosquito. Excess dividends, cordial patronage, profits for organizations that benefited themselves. Many financiers approached and adhered to officials and politicians, hoping to earn those gains. And the bureaucrats constantly indulged them. That's how Japanese corruption works. These illegal pipes form bypass after bypass in Kasumigaseki, siphoning off public funds for their profit. To find and destroy such pipes is, of course, in the national interest. But eliminating illegal expenditures isn't as simple as all that. There are important people connected to those pipes, and when those people are investigated, a major political scandal takes place. The reason why the government doesn't investigate such illegal expenditures is not only to protect vested interests, but also because they are conscious of the damage these scandals can cause politically. To put it more succinctly, the government can't endure the pain of pushing pus out of a wound. The closer the exposed subject is to the top, the greater the pain faced by the government, and that affects the cabinet approval rating. The closer the subject is to the core, the more extensive the damage to the heart. So do nothing. Got it. The secret investigation Akasaka was leading went as close to the heart as it got, and could cause a collapse of the administration from a shock. Akasaka was tipped off that a huge amount of public funding was leaking out through an alumni organization of the 7 imperial universities, so he and his colleagues had been conducting a secret investigation into the matter for a long time. His target was tightly knit, but he learned the wife of one of the organization's senior members bore strong resentment toward them after her husband was made their scapegoat, and he managed to contact her. And because of that, he had got his hands on extremely important information. Good work, everyone. We've almost gathered enough proof. What Akasaka-kun brought us is particularly shocking. You must have worked hard to get it. Great work. Thank you. The small meeting room was filled with boxes that were, in turn, filled with documents. A whiteboard was filled with cramped writing, too. A few of the investigators in the meeting room, which was also filled with smoke, were reading the documents intensely. Their intimidating manner clearly indicated that they were police officers with a great deal of experience. Akasaka was one of those men. It had been a while since Mamoru Akasaka was transferred to this department. When he worked on the case of the kidnapping of Minister Inukai's grandson, he had been a rookie, but by now he was an experienced investigator. After a knock on the door, an elderly man entered the room. Everyone straightened up all at once. Sir, thank you for stepping by. Thank you. You don't need to stand. Relax. I brought a wonderful gift for you all today. Kano, you'll get to go to your son's parents' day meeting after all. The meeting was filled with sighs tinged with exasperation and resignation. It certainly wasn't because any of them hated getting to go to Parents' Day. I knew it. I thought it was about time. Shit. Akasaka's colleague complained. They had been so close to getting to the root of this issue. They had such strong evidence. Wait, is it getting cancelled? Huh. Akasaka, on his part, wasn't too disturbed. This had happened several times in the past, and considering how hot the documents he obtained were, it was easy enough to predict. The case was suddenly transferred to another department. That meant their investigation ended here. The new department was supposed to continue the investigation to expose injustices, but that's never happened once before. It was just an excuse. The investigation had been terminated because of pressure from above. Damn it. What about everything we've worked for so far? It was just to see how much it had hurt to push out the pus. They realized it would be too painful, so they decided not to treat the wound. In that sense, their hard work wasn't wasted. Because of it, the investigation was terminated. Akasaka understood that, but his colleague wasn't yet mature enough to understand. Of course, Akasaka's sense of justice was displeased by this. He felt frustrated with his superiors, who had hesitated to expose the truth. But he was mature enough to know not to say that out loud. We'll organize what we have and hand it over to the other end later. Anyway, since you haven't had a day off for a long time, you don't have to wait until 5 p.m. to leave today. Please go home and get some rest. We'll talk about what's left to do tomorrow. Also, don't forget to use up your vacation time, too. Make sure you take a vacation and give a treat to your spouses. Chief, please come with me. That will be all. Yes, sir. Though his long secret investigation left a bad taste in his mouth with its resolution, he managed to earn a holiday until the next incident arrived. Well, I guess we'll do as he says. Everyone, go home and get some rest. If you go home that early, you might find out your wife is having an affair, you know? Dumbass, you don't know anything. Akasaka-san and his wife are madly in love. He calls her every night from a public phone in a different building. I envy you, Akasaka. My wife is pretty cold. Ta-ha-ha-ha. Akasaka smiled bitterly as he gathered the documents in his hands. Doo-doo. One of the pages fell to the floor. It was a page from a huge pile of papers documenting illegal expenditures. They exposed the illegal expenditures of the Alphabet Project, the research team for the next generation of hardware in the Defense Agency. It was entirely possible that this project was created in the first place for the purpose of funneling these illegal expenditures. When he saw the paper, one thing caught Akasaka's eye. He picked it up, looked at it, and tried to remember. It was a list of people who illegally received public funds. It was also a list of retirees who were still very much in love with money. There should have been no connection between those people and Akasaka. However, there was one thing that caught his attention. The Erie Clinic. As soon as he said it, all sorts of memories resurfaced. Yes, the Erie Clinic. When he was working on the case of Minister Inukai's grandson's abduction, he got into a scuffle with the subjects and became injured. He was taken to the local clinic. Wait, at this point he shouldn't have been doing that. He should have been at the hospital with his wife. As he recalled, the name of that clinic was the Erie Clinic. He started to remember one thing after another. His very first experience with wading into the muck. It was burned into his mind like a fresh memory, and he could vividly recall everything that happened. Oh, or maybe he's remembering the other fragment. His daughter was about to be born, and he really didn't want to go to Hinamizawa. He met Oishi, who taught him a lot of important things. He also met a girl in that village. Her name was, yes, Rika Furude. That was it. How long had it been? How old was she now? As he remembered her lovely smile, he also remembered the ominous prediction she made. She had predicted that if he didn't go back to Tokyo, something terrible would happen. At the time, he took it as nonsense, but he felt something odd about it, as if it was a divine omen. Then he had remembered Yukie, who was about to give birth. He became concerned that something terrible would happen to her. But he couldn't just leave and go back to Tokyo. That's why he called her right away. He told her something would happen. He told her to be very careful until he returned. Oh. Yukie had laughed and told him he was being paranoid. But that phone call indeed saved her from a calamity. There we go. Akasaka had found out about that when he visited her after returning to Tokyo. A few days after his phone call, a janitor was seriously injured when he stepped on a loose tile on the stairs on his way to the rooftop. He also heard afterwards that Yukie had a habit of going up to the roof for a walk every day. But because of his phone call, she had stopped doing it. If he hadn't called her, she would have been the one to step on the loose tile. In other words, Rikufude's prediction had been correct. There was no proof. But Akasaka still believed that he was able to save Yukie only because of Rikufude's prediction. He'd intended to call and thank her for saving Yukie, but the busy days that followed put it out of his mind. Rika-chan. He wondered if she was still doing well, if she was still smiling. Akasaka remembered the sad prediction she made on that night under the moon, while still wearing that smile. That's right. She had said something. She predicted someone would get killed on the night of the festival every year, and that on the 5th year in, she'd be the one to be killed. That's right, he thought. She did say that. The 5th year. That's this year! The festival is... That's right, it's in June. If he remembered correctly, it happens on the last Sunday of the month. Akasaka looked at the calendar. It was June 1983. Although there was still some time, the death she predicted for herself was coming up. The girl who had predicted Yukie's accident also prophesied a mysterious incident that would occur annually for the next 5 years. If they had actually been happening, then it would happen again this year. Akasaka wondered if Oishi was still at the Okonomiya Police Department. If the annual incident she predicted actually was taking place, he would know. In other words, he could confirm if Rikufude was going to be killed or not, with a phone call to Oishi. The girl who predicted her own death had muttered that she didn't want to die. Muttered? No. It was clearly a plea for help. A young girl who was trapped in the fathomless, bizarre traditions of a village she couldn't escape had sought help from him, an outsider. She paid his reward in advance, in the form of foreseeing Yukie's accident. He had to get to her. He had to go save her. A flood of emotions filled him up. He felt as though he had finally remembered something he was never supposed to forget. That's right. He had to go to Hinamizawa. He had to save the girl who asked him for help. Hello, Okonomiya Police Department. Hello, is a Kurado Oishi still working in your investigation department? If he is, may I talk with him, please? Excuse me, may I ask who's calling? Could you tell him it's Akasaka from the police headquarters? Yeah, excuse me, had a weird breath there. Oishi was a very lively person, but he had been old even back then. Maybe he had already transferred somewhere else, or maybe he'd since retired. But if he was still there, he'd be happy to hear from Akasaka. He sure had a unique laugh. No. Oishi-san, there's a phone call for you. Someone from the police headquarters in Tokyo. Tokyo? Who could that be? Hello, this is Oishi. What? My oh my. And how have you been? No. Now they're hinting that they talked. Oh, end of chapter. Wait, were there any new tips? It just ended instantly, so no. Alright, continuing on. It's probably two more weeks with this chapter is my estimate. Hanyu had already grown used to being around us. Since Rika-chan and Satoko are her age, she's become especially close with them. Of course, Rena and Miona are looking after her too. Rena told me something the day Hanyu joined the class. She said that Hanyu has been close to us for a long time, and that she's been watching us play, that she always wanted to join us. I still can't remember seeing her before, but somehow I can believe it. Hanyu has accepted all the things that surprised me at first, as if she knew about them all along. She knows everything about us, and it seems she's truly excited about finally being able to join in. Hanyu's definitely part of our group now. She sure is. It almost feels like she's been one of us this whole time. That can't be true, though. No, it is. She's been by our side all this time. Huh? Are you saying that now, too? Rena told me that a couple days ago. Is it just that I didn't notice? It's because you're dense, Keiichi. Me. Fine. So what if I'm dense? Oh, whoa, whoa. Why are you two sitting down? Are you tired? You never feel tired, Hanyu. Meanwhile, we're exhausted. It's because I've waited so long to be able to play with you all. This isn't nearly enough. I want to play more and more. Oh, oh, oh. You're full of energy. By the way, those things on your head, don't they fall when you play? Oh? Hanyu has horns on her head. I thought that was a hair accessory of some sorts, so I didn't want her to lose it while playing. I was going to offer to hold it for her while she ran around. But Hanyu's face clouded over. She apologetically held onto the horns. Keiichi, Hanyu can't take them off. Huh? Ah, I see. Sorry about that. Oh, is it strange to have horns? No, not at all. I think it's cute. Yeah. Kei-chan even has a horn between his legs, don't you? Though it's hard and curves backward. Oh, what kind of horn is between his legs? What kind? Renaissance Punch is still the one thing I can't follow. Are you quite alright, Mion-san? There's a depression in your face. Oh, jeez. Everyone laughed except Hanyu, who didn't seem to get it. I shouldn't have said anything. I bet she doesn't like to talk about her horns. But if I try to apologize, I think things will get even more complicated. As I thought about what to say, Rena took the girls over to the shrine gate. Don't worry about it, Keiichi. Hanyu tries not to let it bother her, but she hasn't had enough training. Me. So she doesn't like to talk about them, huh? Sorry, I'll be more careful. Hanyu came to Hinamizawa a very long time ago. She did? No wonder she knows so much about the village. I don't know where she lived before she came here. I asked her once, but all she said was it was a place I wouldn't understand. Hanyu said that she, or rather, Hanyu's people, couldn't live there anymore. They looked for a new place to live for a long time. They traveled a very long way before arriving in Hinamizawa. There was a beautiful swamp in the area, and that was exactly what Hanyu's people were looking for. But there was a village nearby where people lived. To show respect to the original inhabitants of an area was law among wandering people like Hanyu's. Her clan decided to live peacefully and coexist with the villagers. However, their attempts to coexist didn't go so well. The villagers were too childish and immature to accept these newcomers. They strongly rejected them, and caused a terrible, tragic disaster. Hanyu said she took their form and descended upon this land in order to subdue the disaster. However, she just couldn't hide her horns. The forbidden ancient documents say that Hanyu descended into the Furude Shrine, appearing as she does today. It also states the following. Hanyu's people can't live anywhere other than this village. They can also only live by coexisting with the villagers. So wait, is Hanyu literally a Hinamizawa syndrome thing? The Furude Shrine's priests once rejected them, claiming that coexistence was impossible, if mixing with the wandering people's blood caused the villagers to become demons. But the young heir of the Furude Shrine fell in love with Hanyu. When their child was born, the priest had to reconsider. Oh, wandering people who cannot hide your horns, if you wish to settle in this land, if you wish to settle with our blood, then I shall consider granting your wish. However, as the demon's blood mixed with the villagers, it became hard to tell who was human and who was demon. The villagers began to cast suspicion on one another, haunted by that paranoia. Unless all of that was resolved, coexistence would be impossible. For you and us to coexist, we must lay down several laws for us to follow. They'll be very strict. I'm very, very sorry for imposing upon you who have lived here in peace until now. However, as long as those rules are followed, the village will be free from demonic disaster. Very well, the rules will be followed. But much blood has already been shed in the village. The anger, sins, and corruption people bear cannot be cleansed. The one law of the human world is that sins are atoned for with life. I see. If you say it's your way to let someone take on all responsibility and bury the sins with him, then we'll do that. However, wouldn't people end up pushing responsibility on each other because nobody wants to die? Exactly. That's the ugly demon in the world of man. No one will accept their own sins, but only foist them onto each other. Since they can only clear the balance with their lives, everyone refuses to pay, and the sins just keep adding up. Without cleansing them, they stagnate, and people cast them upon each other forever, doubting each other and passing them around. I see. If that is the unopposable law of the world, and you yourselves are troubled by this law, then in exchange for coexisting with us, I shall grant you a world where people do not blame their sins on each other. What kind of world is it? So long as mankind exists, they will commit sins and give rise to corruption. How could that all be erased without foisting it onto someone else? Let me bear all the sins and corruption born from man, and purify my soul. Let all sins rest not with man. If they are borne upon myself, then man will not need to force them on each other. What are you saying? Are you really going to make yourself into a sacrifice? Someone has to take on the sins, otherwise they won't be cleansed. That's the law of your world, isn't it? A different ancient document also states the following. Of course, it's a forbidden one too. Only the head of the Furude family is allowed to read it. Nobody else. Not even the other heads of the three families. It tells that unrest grew in people's minds, that the villagers' evil hearts collected in the swamp and gave rise to demons. The Furude Shrine Police explained that the root of all evil is the demon god of the swamp, and led the young villagers there. By the swamp, they found a demon mocking the unrest in people's hearts. The young villagers fought bravely, captured the demon, and dragged it to the Furude Shrine. The priest cleansed the demon god, opened her abdomen, and dragged out her organs. He chopped them up and washed them down the stream, then threw the body in the swamp. Then people regained their sanity. Those who had been suspicious of each other became friendly, and they all shared in the joy of peace again. If these forbidden ancient documents are real, then the object of the villagers' worship, Oyashiro-sama, was captured by the villagers, and forced to bear all their sins, torn to death. Plus, it's clearly written that the demons appeared after unrest grew in people's hearts. In other words, the demons were forced to bear the sin of discord that rested with man long before they arrived. Oyashiro-sama was a god who took on people's sins to mend conflicts between them. People who eventually came to honor her, and it said that became the foundation of faith in Oyashiro-sama. I don't understand exactly what that means, but I know one thing. When none of us humans would draw the losing straw, she offered to draw it in our stead. To prove it, we cleanse our filth by letting cotton absorb it, and drift down the stream during the Watanashi festival. There's no shame or shifting of responsibility involved. Until that system was created, we were simply demons who pushed our filth and our responsibility on each other. We could only cleanse our sins by blaming someone else, and sacrificing him by cutting open his abdomen. And Hanyu took on that job. A purification ceremony without a human life. A system that forgives people for their sins. That is the origin of the cult of Oyashiro-sama, which blames not people for their sins, but the curse. Those documents were sealed away. If they weren't, people would find out that the object of their own faith was falsely blamed and killed by their own ancestors. Hanyu apologizes. She takes in people's sins and keeps apologizing. When people can't deal with their own sins anymore, she accepts them. When Hanyu takes over, people are cleansed and they are allowed to keep living. Demons take on sins by becoming cotton to absorb them. They are exterminated and washed down the stream, and then the village is forgiven. They are forgiven for their sins. If that's all true, then Hanyu, or rather, Oyashiro-sama, is such a tragic existence. I've asked Hanyu about this before. Then she told me the following story. 4 people are stuck in a snowy mountain cabin. They play a game while each sitting in one of the 4 corners. It's a fairly well-known story. It's in the middle of winter. They're all getting sleepy. If they fall asleep, they'll die. So one of them comes up with an idea. They're sitting in the four corners of the room, so someone just has to walk clockwise to the next corner and wake up the next person sitting in that corner. The one who just walked will sit in that corner, and the one who just woke up will get up, walk to the next corner, and wake up the person sitting there. If they keep doing that, nobody will fall asleep. People who know this story won't need an explanation. But this doesn't work with four people. When the first person gets up, their corner becomes empty. So after everyone takes turns, the fourth person goes to the next corner, which is an empty one. What? Huh? I'm sorry. There's four corners, four people. It doesn't work that way, no. In other words, to play this game, you need more than four people. No. You need one more person in order to be saved. People usually tell this as a ghost story. They usually say that this was actually a group of 5 people, but one was already dead, and thanks to that ghost, they're able to continue living until the next morning. Hanya once told me that she's like the 5th person. I gotta reread this, because that's so weird. They're sitting in the 4 corners of the room. I think they should have said there's 3 people sitting in 3 corners of a room. The one who just walked will sit in the corner, and the one who just woke up will get up. So the empty seat is just the one that was just left. Wait, actually I think they're right. I might be mistaken here. So the first person gets up and leaves. Now there's no one in that corner. Okay, that makes sense, yeah. Yep, so it had to be a 3 thing. Okay, yep. I was getting confused. Honey once told me that she's like that 5th person. If she can make everything run smoothly by joining a circle of people then. It's very similar to how the telephone game in the mountain cabin manages to function without breaking. Hanyu can complete a circle that can't be realized by people alone. Then those people can live peacefully. She's an existence that completes a circle. Is she bothered by her horns because it reminds her of the time when she was called a demon and punished for the sins she took in? Is her subconscious still tormenting her with thoughts that those who have horns ought to be persecuted? She was born with those horns. She was hated and abused because of them. Really? I definitely shouldn't have said anything, huh? And just because she has those horns, she has to take in everyone's sins and cleanse them. She did that, and then she was worshipped as a god. Huh? A god? I was talking to myself. Forget about it. Huh? Nobody knows who Hanyu really is. Is she really a divine existence that descended from a higher place? Or is she simply an unlucky girl who became a sacrifice just because she had a pair of horns? Nobody knows. But this girl's blood was blended with the Furude family's blood, and that blood has descended into me. Our legends state that if the Furude family has a girl for their firstborn child for 8 generations in a row, that 8th child will be a reincarnation of Oyasho-sama. I don't know exactly what that means, but I'm that 8th generation. Is that why I was the only person who could see Hanyu? 8 generations is a very long time. Maybe that's how long it took for all the sins Hanyu assumed to be cleared. 8 represents infinity. It's a very lucky number. Often, curses uttered will contain, "I'll curse you for 7 generations," but the 8th lies beyond that. In other words, 8 possesses such good fortune that it can forgive great curses and sins that spanned 7 generations. It's a number with power. It's the time Hanyu needed to cleanse all the sins she took in from the humans. Hanyu and her people simply wanted to coexist with us. But Hanyu had to become a sacrifice. Her stomach was cut open, and its content washed down the stream. Then she was thrown into the swamp. And so, the Furude family has been waiting. They wait for a very long time for her to come back. They kept our traditions alive, waiting forever and ever for her return. More water. According to the legend, the name Furude was made by adding a horn to the character for fortune teller. I want to see the Japanese for this, just because I won't be able to read it whatsoever. So this is the Furude name, I believe. This is the Higurashi, this one right here. Yeah. No. This thing. Oni no blank. This thing right here. Or is that Suno as well? Pretty sure it's Oni added to that or something. Yeah. Alright, I can't read it. The Furude family rose when Hanyu's bloodline was combined with that of human beings. Hanyu is the ancestor of the Furude family, as well as the mother of us all. When I was little, Hanyu taught me a lot more things than my mother did. It's no wonder. I am her descendant. The curse on the clan who exorcised and buried their very own mother was finally absolved after 8 generations, what seems like eternity. And then she met me, her descendant, the final generation of the Furude family. Sometimes when I think about that, I feel like there must be some important meaning to this hapless fate thrust upon me. But what kind of meaning could the trial I face, the trial of breaking through the obstacles sealing my fate, have upon the curse that plagued Hanyu and the Furude family for over a millennium? 1,000 years is simply too long a period to communicate thoughts and intentions correctly. Hanyu has become the curse we call Oyashiro-sama. Though she originally was a means of salvation, she has become a chain that binds people. The rules about coexistence were misinterpreted as a law that binds villagers to this place, though that continued until the Meiji era. And while the village winds once again blow towards the misunderstanding of isolation thanks to the dam conflict, how does that play into my meeting with Hanyu and this motley fate we're trapped in? I haven't lived long enough to be able to understand that. The only thing I can say for sure is that the Furude family originated when Hanyu's bloodline mixed with that of humans, and the line's final descendant, me, finally met with its ancestor. The Furude bloodline bears a cursed history of placing all of man's sins onto its mother and killing her. Now the beginning and end of that line have met. Hanyu always wanted to join Ever, yet she couldn't hide her horns. Even so, she still wished to be in existence that completes a circle. It's a child's job to bury their parents. But mother, I've never heard that it's a child's job to kill and bury their parents. Don't ask, child. I'm not human. My horns are proof that I'm a demon. A demon's job is to take on the calamities of the human world. Bearing the calamities of this chaotic world and cleansing the unrest in mankind's hearts is my role. Then mother, why do you have to be the one? People's sins are people's sins. They aren't yours. Listen, child. People live with their sins. They can't live without making someone else take the blame. Nobody wants to take the blame, so they shift that responsibility around. That is a demon, the true demon disrupting the world of man. By bearing it myself, man may be cleansed, and mankind can be freed from their destiny of doubt and conflict. Let all the sins, the filth, the karma, and the curse come to me. Then attack me, purify me, wash me down the stream, and throw me in the swamp. A human will not do, so it is the fate of one not human to accept that role. If a human were made to bear it, then mankind would not be freed from the demon of doubt. I don't understand. I don't understand, Mother. Mother, you have horns. Are you saying that you aren't human just because you have horns? That even if you are human, the horns make you non-human? Even if you have horns, you're immune to me. My child, you're the only one who's ever said that. Even if everyone else calls me, you'll still call me human. What is passed down in the Furude's many forbidden scrolls, the ones unknown to even the heads of the 3 families, sealed in the altar in the shrine storage? Understanding that would probably require about as much time as I've spent repeating time. Yet once you understand that, perhaps you'll better understand the smile Hanyu wears as she innocently plays with everyone. And that makes a perfect spot to pause to feed the cat. So I'm going to switch and mute. I'll be back as soon as possible. Alright, just got back. Ah, are you okay? I heard Mion yell with surprise. Something must have happened. What is it? What's going on? Hanyu-san tripped and tumbled down the hill over there. Hanyu-chan, are you okay? She rolled beautifully, but I hope she didn't sprain her ankle or anything. Let's go look. Hanyu had been playing on the slope and tumbled down it. There's a road just below the slope. Mion and the others went down the stairs to get to her. Let's go. I hope she isn't injured. It's funny, it's hard to tell if it's Keiichi or... Oh. When I got there, I saw Tomitake-san and Takano-san. They were taking care of her. What happened? We just saw her roll down the hill. She did tumble beautifully, though. But I think she hit her head, so I'm sure she'll get a bump later. Make sure you put some ice on it, okay? Hanyu! Hanyu! Can you hear us? Look, how many fingers do you see? Oh... She sounded disoriented, but didn't appear to be injured. What a relief for everyone. I bet she's just feeling dizzy from rolling. I really need to find like a big water bottle. Not a bottle, though, because the twisting of the cover is definitely picked up by the mic. Oh, I'm glad. I'm glad you're not hurt. Just think, though. How lucky of you to have a nurse waiting for you down here. What perfect timing. Well, when I'm not working, I'm a wild bird photographer. Right, Jiro-san? Oh, well, yeah, I guess. A Hinamizawa kid would never get hurt from something like that. In other words, you're already one of us, Hanyu. Hanyu-chan? Is that your name? I've never seen you before. Are you new around here? Yes, she is. She transferred in just last Monday. What are these? How peculiar. Are they some kind of toy? Takano-san tried to poke at one of Hanyu's horns. They'd be an interesting hair accessory, if they were an accessory. What's cute about Hanyu-chan. Please don't touch them, though. Oh, is that so? I don't think they're that cute, though. After all, they look just like a monster. Don't they? Jeez, that was big. Suddenly, Hanyu moaned as if suffocating. Takano, Hanyu isn't a monster. Don't ever say that again. That's right, Takano-san. That was mean. Sorry, I didn't mean to be rude. Riki-chan said it rather firmly. I'm sure Hanyu doesn't want to hear that word. Sometimes, Takano-san says things in a derogatory way without realizing it herself. But I guess there are things you can't or shouldn't say. Hanyu was looking at Takano-san with a complicated look on her face. After seeing that expression, Takano-san realized she might have hurt her feelings. She apologized and left with Tomitake-san. Are you okay, Hanyu? You landed beautifully, too, so you're not injured. Rika, that person. Oh. Her? That's Takano. Takano. Hanyu repeated Takano-san's name. All of a sudden, I grew worried that she hit her head or something. Hanyu stood straight up and grabbed Rika-chan's collar. Rika! Oh! It's Takano! Takano! That's right, she's Takano. No, Rika! Takano! Don't you remember? I know. Mio Takano, right? From the area clinic. You can't remember? Sorry, Hanyu. What are you talking about? Rika! This can't be. This is the last one. The last one. She finally imprinted herself with the true enemy's name, while enduring the pain of her stomach being cut open. And yet she can't remember. Rika Furude has failed to inherit the memory of the fragments. Oh, Akasaka-san! Long time no see! Oishi-san! You haven't changed a bit. What are you saying? I've been on an apple diet lately. I've lost a few pounds. Can't you tell? Just look at you. You look great. Well, I have to stay in shape for my job. Hey, Kuro-chan. Is this the guy? The one who came here a few years ago from Tokyo? Nice to see you again too, Honda-san. It's been a while. My, look at you. Must be nice to be so young. Well, since you came such a long way, let's just head to a restaurant. I'm a regular there, so I'm sure we can get in before it opens. Come on. Oishi-san, are you sure? Don't you still have some work to do? What? Not at all. I'm on special training with a mission investigator from Tokyo headquarters. Come on, let's get going. Oh wait, I've got to make a phone call first. They're greenhorns compared to someone like you. But I put some help together for us. Ah, there you are. Kuma-chan! Do you want to come play with us tonight? Oishi-san, your relevant changed a bit. Akasaka used to think Oishi wasn't serious enough about work. But after experiencing many different things in the real world, that perception had completely disappeared. Oishi is that way because of experience. It's not always best to take things seriously. In this world, sometimes being that frank can help. In Akasaka's case, people often tell him to relax more. But in Oishi's case, maybe he should straighten out a little. Come on, Akasaka-san, let's go. Yes, at once. Yeah, good answer. You sound like a veteran police officer now. Glad to hear it. The old Akasaka would have thought Oishi was making fun of him, but by now he could take it as an honest assessment. Boy, you sure can drink now, Akasaka-san. I don't think I can keep up with you. Must be true that when one gets old, he can't drink as much as before. You're too modest. I'm just better because an intelligence officer has to be able to hold his liquor. I have a budget set aside at all times for training with my young colleagues. Japanese sake, Western liquor, Chinese liquor, whatever. Sometimes I drink at little bars, and sometimes at expensive clubs. No, that sounds pretty good. I'll have to join you to coach them sometime. Yes, please, come teach us your tricks. Young guys nowadays often talk about how they can't drink. I couldn't drink at all at first, you know? The more you drink, the better your body adjusts to alcohol, and the more you can enjoy drinking. That's right. Are you listening, Kuma-chan? Yeah, I heard. I can down quite a few now. No, really, you're right. When you first teamed up with Oishi, you were already drinking oolong tea with the toast. That's no good. A toast has a very important meaning. It means you gotta get drunk. If you don't drink any alcohol, you're saying you're not satisfied with the party. So when I see young people like that, I tell them, I'm not saying that you have to drink up in one gulp. But your round has to at least be a medium mug. When Akasaka first came to Okonomiya, he was very nervous. But there was no trace of that tension left in him. Seeing that, Oishi realized just how much Akasaka had learned in the past few years. No, there you go, Akasaka-san. Man, you've really grown a lot more dependable. During the years I've been waiting to retire, you've grown so much. Might be time for the younger generation to take over, huh? That's not true. If there's one thing I've learned, it's that the only thing that matters is experience. Leave the hard labor in the crime scenes to us young officers, while you veterans take pride at your desks and work us to the bone. Did you hear that, Kuma-chan? Did you? Did you? Oh, okay, I heard him. I'll give it everything I've got. Oishi, Kumagai-kun's already giving everything he's got. He's diligent about his patrols to make up for your distaste for them. You know how Oishi-san is, right? I've only worked with him for a few days, but I understand what you're going through. Even so, he'll make you into a good cop. Just believe in him. Yes, sir. I'll do my best. But even if I learn how to drink, I can't learn how to be good at mahjong. Oishi-san takes all my pay before I can give it to my wife. Mahjong is intellectual baggage you need. The more you play, the more confident you get. Let's play together later. I'll teach you how not to lose. Oishi, he's a good guy, huh? He kind of reminds me of how you were when you were young. That can't be. I wasn't nearly as handsome. It was unusual for Oishi to enjoy anyone's company this much. Akasaka and Oishi only worked together for a few days. They had exchanged some holiday cards since, but that was about it. Oishi had no idea how happy it would make him to see such a greenhorn grow into a dependable cop. Oishi always thought he wanted to be active until the day he retired. But after seeing such a dependable colleague, he began to think that maybe it was time for him to step down. Oishi and Akasaka enjoyed their reunion more than they thought they would. And then it's mahjong time. Oh, the owner of the place was bringing the electric sign inside. All the chairs were up on the tables, and the owner's wife was cleaning the floor. There was nobody else around. Judging by the clock, it was almost 3 a.m. This is a reunion, right, Koro-chan? Take your time, okay? Just wake me up when you leave so I can lock the door. Sorry about this, thank you. There wouldn't be anything else open at such a late hour. Oishi and his colleagues still wanted to talk, so they decided to stay. Kumagai couldn't fight his sleepiness and was nodding off. They were talking about Akasaka's job. Akasaka works at a department specializing in public safety. Oishi and the others were interested in all his stories of danger and bravery. Anyway, I want to meet with Rika Furude. By Rika Furude, you mean the orphaned daughter of the Furude family? Orphaned? What happened to her parents? Rika Furude had predicted that there would be an incident in Hinamizuwa every year for the following 5 years. Her parents, according to her, were supposed to be killed on the third year running. Yeah, it was the third year of the curse of Oyashiro-sama. 1981 must have been. The Furude couple died rather suspiciously. It was 3 years after you came to Hinamizuwa, Akasaka-san. 3 years? Did it happen in June, 3 years after I visited? Yeah, that's about right. Why? Is there something about it that bothers you? Akasaka shut his eyes tightly to chase away the alcohol in his brain and tried to remember the girl's prediction. He had, after all, come here to confirm it. I came here in 1978. And what about the dam construction site manager? Oh, that's the guy I played mahjong with. How's he been doing? It was in the newspaper, I think. Maybe it was just in the local ones. Well, he was killed in a fight with the other workers that year. Rika Furude had predicted that he'd be killed in a gruesome way, that his body would be dismembered. Was he mutilated? See, you know about it already. That's exactly it. His right arm is still missing, too. It's so unfortunate. The following year, on the same day in June 1980, Sato's parents will be pushed to their deaths. Maybe it should be called an accident. A lamentable accident. I'll continue. The following year, the year after the manager's death, I think... Let's see. I know. Satoko-san it was. I think she's a little girl. Did her parents die in an accident? Oh, how much do you already know? That's right. The dam supporters, the Hojo couple, fell off a cliff while on vacation. Though it still hasn't been confirmed if it was an accident or an incident. And the following year, on the same day in June 1981, my parents will be killed. And the following year? Yes, Rika Furude's parents died. But none of those incidents make sense. You sure know a lot about the curse of Oyashiro-sama. None of those incidents were made public because of pressure from the locals, so I'm surprised at how much you know about them. I can't believe this. But even you can't know about the following year. Because starting with the 4th year in a row, we decided to investigate secretly. I think I know about it anyway. In the following year, on the same day, in June 1982, Satoko's mean aunt will die. Her head will be smashed in. The following year, so that was last year. Satoko-san from earlier, wasn't her aunt beaten to death? Shit, you're right. Akasaka-san, how do you know so much? I think I know who will be killed the year after that. What are you saying? Besides, the year after last year means it's this year. I'll be killed. It will be in June of 1983. In other words, this month. Rika Furude will be killed. Oishi and the others were at a loss for words. Akasaka had talked about the 4 mysterious incidents. Although he had been far away, he belonged to a very special unit of public safety. It could have been possible for him to find out about their secret investigations. That was why it wasn't that odd for Akasaka to mention the series of mysterious deaths, even though he had been far away from Hinamizuwa. However, not only did he know about them, but he also named the next victim. Oishi and his co-workers had sobered up entirely. Akasaka-san, it's getting late. We're all exhausted, so let me get to the bottom of this. What is it that you're trying to say? Okay. All of this is what she told me when I was in Hinamizuwa in June of 1978. What? Oishi couldn't believe what he was hearing. He was left speechless. I know it's hard to believe. When she told me back then, I thought she was just being a mischievous little girl. But she told me she was going to be killed in the 5th year running. In other words, she asked me to help her, I think. The main purpose of my visit to Hinamizawa this time is to find her and ask her if she still needs my help. Akasaka-san, I'm retiring this year. I want to take revenge on the people who killed the manager on the first year. I'll jump on any lead I can find. So let me just confirm this with you. What you just said isn't a joke, is it? If it is, you had better tell me right now. I'm telling you the truth. Rika Furude told me this in June 1978. But at the time, I didn't think anything of it, so I didn't tell you about it. I'm very sorry. No, you didn't know. Even if you had told me, I don't think I would have believed you. Only because it happened 4 years in a row do we believe you now. Oishi must have been thinking that if only Akasaka had told him that back then, he could have saved his friend. But what the old man from forensics just said was right too. Oishi wouldn't have believed him back then. And his friend would have died anyway, and Oishi would have been left with regret at not being able to do anything. It's true. I should be the one apologizing. Still, Rika Furude. Why Rika Furude? I don't know exactly what's going on in Hinamizawa right now. I read in the papers that the dam construction plan was halted indefinitely. That's why I assumed Hinamizawa was peaceful now. The dam conflict is over, yeah. But starting the following year, these mysterious deaths, known locally as the curse of Oyashiro-sama, started to occur annually. And it played out just like you said. I think she's entrusted me with something extremely important. Oishi-san, let me ask you. Do you think it's possible for Rika Furude to be killed this year? They say that the Furude couple was held in low regard for being so passive during the dam conflict. That might be the reason why the curse fell upon them in the third year. So I do think that Rika Furude's death, it's possible, isn't it? Oishi nodded slowly. I'm going to try to get in touch with Rika Furude tomorrow. I think the best thing to do is to talk to her directly. Can I come with you, Akasaka-san? This story about Rika Furude sounds like something very important for me, too. My. You've come bearing quite the incredible gift. I'm getting a bit intrigued myself. I never thought I'd see the day when all the mysteries were solved. Well, I have some questions, too. For instance, why did she tell me something that important? If she wanted help, why didn't she ask the local police? Why me? A guy on a business trip from Tokyo. I bet she doesn't have faith in the local police. I'm a little unrefined. Rika-san probably doesn't trust me. Besides, there are people with connections to the Sonozaki family at the Okunomiya Police Department. In other words, she trusted me, the guy who came from Tokyo, more than anybody. Yeah, I guess. If that's the case, Oishi-san, please don't tell anybody else about this. Of course I won't. Anyway, let's head directly to Hinamizawa tomorrow and have a talk with Rika-san. Tomorrow is in today at 3 a.m. We can start from there. Alright, switching back to Rika and Hanyu, I guess? Seeing as it's... Yep. It's hard to believe, but it's the truth, isn't it? It was in the middle of the night. Only the sounds of insects and Satoko's snoring could be heard. Rika was sitting by her favorite window. Yes, Takano is the one who killed you, Rika. Why am I back in my Shrine Maiden outfit? Is it because they couldn't set up a third set of clothing for me? You and I both saw it. You tried so hard to remember Takano's face. Even as she cut your stomach open, you burnt her face into your memory, while enduring all that pain. That's a horrible way to die. I'm glad I don't remember, but I can see it. That's the kind of death Takano would prefer. Oh. Still, I don't get it. Why would Takano kill me? I'm the Queen Carrier, and if I die, a disaster will occur, right? Isn't that why the Area Institute and the Mountain Dogs are protecting me? Then why would Takano, their leader, have me killed? Oh. Sorry, that was a useless question. Takano killed me. That's the truth, and her motive doesn't matter, does it? But still, why Takano? Although she just said that the motive didn't matter, Rika went back to the same question. The reason why Takano was protecting the Queen Carrier wasn't because she wanted to prevent the rest of Hinamizawa from developing the syndrome. It was because the Queen Carrier was an extremely valuable subject of her research. Then, considering that value, why did she kill the Queen Carrier with her own 2 hands? Is Takano my only enemy? Oh, well, the mountain dogs are after you too. I don't know if Irie is your enemy or not, but I don't think he is. Takano and the mountain dogs are my enemies? You've got to be kidding me. How can we possibly win? There's no way. Unless there's a miracle of some kind, we can't fight against people like them. Besides, Watsunashi is this Sunday. I'll be killed on the 22nd. It's in about a week or so, right? How can we beat them in such a short amount of time? Should we try going after Takano with a metal bat? That won't work. She's only one of them. Even if we take her out, the mountain dogs will still get us. What do we do? What should we do? I don't know either. But, we didn't even know our enemy before now. This time, we do. There must be something that we can do. This was the first time in a long time that Hanyu had spoken so positively. Rika was startled for a moment, and realized that she was losing her cool. She took a deep breath and tried to calm herself down. She was still confused that Takano was the culprit. Rika had always thought of Takano as her ally. There were, after all, many reasons why Takano should treat her well. Rika couldn't even think of one reason why Takano would want to kill her. Still, Takano was always thinking about bizarre things. There was no guarantee that a crazy idea of hers couldn't become a motive. So that means, if Tomitake is killed, then is he an ally? I think he is. That's an idea, Rika. You should talk to Tomitake. Takano was accompanied by the mountain dogs because of an organization named Tokyo. So could Rika ask for help only from someone affiliated with that organization? In that case, Tomitake was the only one she could talk to about the issue. Although, Irie might also be worth having a talk with. But then, that was why she needed to know. She needed to know why Takano wanted to kill her. Unless she could explain that, they probably wouldn't even believe her. Besides, Tomitake was in love with Takano. He wouldn't doubt her so easily. Irie seemed to be keeping a little distance from Takano. He might be a little more inclined to believe. But as someone who was simply a doctor, he knew little about Tokyo. He might end up being useless to Rika. Then, should she call the police? No way. Definitely no way. There was no way they would believe her. If she were to make a call and say that a strange organization named Tokyo was trying to kill her, they would think she was crazy. Then what could she do? How could she save herself? The scariest people in Hinamizawa were coming to kill her. How could she run from them? How could she fight them? How? If she had remembered the scene of Takano killing her, then she wouldn't have been so confused. Because seeing is believing. But she didn't remember. This was just what Hanyu was telling her. She didn't want Takano to be her enemy. This was a truth she didn't want to accept. So she was tempted to just say that this was all simply Hanyu's delusion. Calm down, Rika. We learned in our past life. Don't you remember the previous world? The previous world. Do you mean the one where Rena spread gasoline all over the school and locked everyone inside? No. The world after that. Don't you remember? In that world, he came back. Teppei Hojo did. That's the worst possible world. No matter what we do, the counselors won't do anything. Satsuko goes insane within a few days. Someone from our circle of friends developed the syndrome and attacked Teppei, right? Oh wow, she doesn't even remember that. No. In the previous world, we all went to the child consultation center. Saved Satsuko. Oh, we got a cat. In that world, Keiichi taught you so much. He taught you that you have to believe, otherwise a miracle won't occur. And he also said that if everyone believes, our wishes will definitely come true. That sure is something Keiichi would say. That's great, but that's great. To defeat the world where Teppei returns, we couldn't do anything about that world even once before. Do you know how Keiichi and the others in that world made a miracle happen? They talked to everyone. They didn't convince themselves it was useless or agonize over it by themselves. They asked everyone for help. That's how they brought about a miracle. Everyone? So, you want me to talk to Keiichi and the others about Takano? Do you really think they would believe me if I told them an organization like Tokyo is after me? Yes, they will. They did in the previous world. Why won't you believe me, Rika? Sorry. It's not that I don't believe you. You saw it, so it's the truth, isn't it? I had no idea how frustrating it would be, not to remember it myself. Anyway, you and me going on and on about this won't solve anything. We don't have enough power on our own. But we have our weapon. That weapon is the truth. We don't know her motive, but we know that the culprit is Takano. So this is a very good start compared to all the other worlds. But why? Why can't you remember it at the very end? Hanyu ground her teeth remorsefully. She saw the truth just a short time ago, so she couldn't believe that Rika didn't remember anything. If it was something she had seen herself, then she wouldn't even need a motive. But she hadn't, and that was why she couldn't understand. Why was her memory missing even when Hanyu's memory was still intact? Did that mean their long journey was about to end? Perhaps her infinitely repeating journey was already over, and this was the last world of all? Whew. I thought this world was odd, since everyone could see you, and you even transferred to our school. But now I can really see how strange of a world this is. There's nothing strange about it. This is just the final world, that's all. I came to this final world so we can gather all our powers. I'm not a bystander here. I'm your ally. I see. You're no longer a bystander, huh? I've decided not to be afraid anymore. I'm not afraid. I'm going to believe with all of you. And a miracle will happen. This is a world where we can bet on. This June of 1983, Rika and Takano are fighting. If Rika doesn't defeat her enemy in time, she'll lose. Takano has many powerful pieces, like the mountain dogs. Rika will need a lot more pieces to be able to defeat her. So unless Rika asks for help from many people and gathers an equal number of pieces, the game won't even begin. We've learned the rules of this game board by playing the game repeatedly. It's like a game without a manual. But we've learned the rules, and now we know how to fight. We're ahead in the game because we already know what pieces our enemy has. Rika, you have to get busy. We only have 1 week before Watanagashi. We had 2 weeks in the previous world, but we only have 1 week in this one. In other words, this is our final chance. Okay, rather than grieving over why I don't remember, I should be grateful that you do. Because if you didn't, this final world would end while we ran about in confusion. Also, if I talk to Keiichi and the others in the right way, maybe they'll come up with some good ideas. Because he was the one who fought with Rena in that previous world, and when the school was about to explode, he brought her back. Exactly. Anyway, let's go out and talk to anyone we can find. We're too weak by ourselves. Let's gather people and think about what to do. We have to take our first steps towards the miracle. And we have to do that within a week. Hanyu had never encouraged her like this before. She had always pretended to be a bystander. She never wanted to go through the pain of failure, so she never had expectations for anything. But now she was trying to intervene in this world so passionately and proactively. According to Hanyu, there had been another world after the one in which Rena occupied the school. Apparently, Keiichi really inspired her in that world. Rika had nothing to lose. She had to talk to whoever she thought she could trust. And whether she tried or not, she had only a very short time left. She had decided to do whatever she possibly could until that time arrived. She would never again act like it was cool to sip wine, pretending to be a witch as the end closed upon her. Is that the end of the chapter? No, not yet. Hello. It's been a while. This is Nomura. Oh, we have a name. Yes, thank you for the detailed documents from the other day. Thanks to that data, men from the Ministry of Health and Welfare now understand how dangerous Hinamizawa syndrome is. That's the accomplishment of you and the late Dr. Takano. I've only made sure that you receive your fair assessment is all. Anyway, I'll make sure the Prime Minister reads your documents. He's our leader after all. I'll have the most important person in this country read your article and make sure he understands what important research this is and why Hinamizawa syndrome is an issue that needs his attention. Also, I'll make sure the present board of directors realize how stupid they were to ignore your research and ridicule your grandfather's thesis. Indeed. I have great news for you. We've decided that after the operation is completed, the actual location will be isolated and shut down, and another department of the STF will take over the research. You'll be welcome there, and you'll be able to continue your research for as long as you want. As long as you want, without worrying about political factions or funding. That's all thanks to your generous client who wants to reward you for your hard work. You'll be given the position of director so you can devote yourself to your research. Isn't it wonderful? Finally, you'll be able to accomplish something that overturns common knowledge by researching Hinamizawa syndrome and the existence of parasites that influence human thought. No, I'm not just saying that to flatter you. That's what we really think. I see. Sorry to take up your time. I'll be going now. I'll get in touch with you again. The woman put down the handset of her car phone. Car phone? Then she picked it up again and made another call. Please transfer me to extension 1001. Yes, this is Watanabe. Watanabe. Yes, the issue from the other day has been taken care of. Yes. Major Takuro's documents are wonderful. I made some people from the National Research Center go along, so the men believed it without questioning. Yes, that's no problem either. Most of the cabinet ministers from enemy factions will be either leaving the country or going on vacation, so they'll be out of Tokyo after the 20th. Ah. Yes, there are still some unsettled issues, but everything will be set by June 23rd. Yes. Therefore, the on-site operation will take place at midnight on June 22nd, and the Prime Minister will be asked for emergency sanctions on the 23rd. Yes. Everyone aiding the Prime Minister on that day will be our people. He won't even question a thing. Yes. I'm certain. The Prime Minister will definitely sign Emergency Manual 34. Afterward, an investigation into Alphabet's duties will be taken up, and the Okino, Chiba, and Old Koizumi factions will lose a great deal of sway. Wait, Old Koizumi? Yes, that's right. It's only a matter of time before we succeed with the Asian Amity and Reconstruction Summit. That's true. If there's money to spend on developing domestic nuclear arms of the Japanese-American alliance spanning the Pacific, then it would be more profitable for our nation to spend it on ODA toward China. ODA? The 21st century will be the era of China, with their nation claiming a good portion of the world's population. Japan gets nothing out of wagging its tail for the US anymore. Oh, yes, I know. The 21st century is almost here, yet we're still saying that communism is the greatest evil. Maybe we've been watching too many bad American propaganda movies. Yes, I understand. Okay then, I'll see you in Macau next week. Yes, I love to gamble. Yes, it was nice talking to you. I'll get in touch with you soon. The woman put down the handset of her car phone and took a breath. She smiled in satisfaction, then picked up the handset again. Give me the Chief Cabinet Secretary, please. Yes, this is Mizo. Oh, a bunch of fake names. Yes, it's me, Chief Okino. That is a lot of fake names to be using. A whole lot of fake names. Oh, perfect ending point then. Check the tips, even though I know we don't have any. And we start the next one. By start, I mean we save and stop. This is right around when I wanted to stop, maybe 5 minutes later tops. So our great enemy after all this was China after all. Another propaganda in reality, but we will stop here. So next Higurashi stream will be on Sunday instead of Saturday because I have plans. It'll be at noon as usual though. The next stream is going to be Tuesday at 7:30. I still haven't decided the game yet, but I'll probably decide it by tonight. That's my plan at least. Otherwise tomorrow morning at the latest. We're going to end right here. Tuesday at 7:30, I said, right? Have a good rest of your morning, day, or evening. Bye-bye.